Guys, high tip wind at 5 to 10 miles per hour. Then tonight, increasing clouds, lows only in the low 50s. For tomorrow, mostly cloudy skies, a slight chance of a shower, highs still mild, around 70 degrees. From the Storm Team 27 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Adam Clayton.
45.
This report is sponsored by Pfizer.
All right. Good morning, everyone. This is the Dan Rivers program. I am Joe Danyi, and I'm taking over the controls here for this great Tuesday. It's going to be a warm one out there, so great day here in the Valley. Great. It was a great show yesterday. I really enjoyed myself. When I leave the studio, I kind of take it in that I get to participate in something that I have been part of since I was a kid. To have listened to all of the great personalities that have come out of this studio, and then to be able to sit behind the same mic that they did at one time. It's just a great feeling coming out of here. And so I'm very blessed to be a part of this station and the family that is part of that. And I want to thank all of you, the listeners out there, that you made for a great show, great callers that came in. And as pitched yesterday, you get a little rare opportunity to get a different voice here. We get to talk about things a little bit differently. We get to come off of the narrative, because I don't subscribe to it or any narrative. I'm not part of a tribe where I'm beholden to my thoughts and feelings and opinions because I have to toe somebody's line. And so I extend that to you, where come off of it for one day, be objective, right? And maybe some of your ideals, maybe your information, maybe your data, just be a little bit of a cynic and say, maybe you're wrong about some stuff. And you don't have to fall in love with the fact that you might be wrong, but maybe there's some more data that you need to collect so that you can feel a little bit better. I'm not a real big, and I put that lightly, I don't like the government very much. I don't like the rules that they set. I think that they're, I read the history of our nation, and we came from oppressive tyrants, right? And we decided we don't like that too much. And so we don't adopt those things that lead to that oppression and that tyranny. And so I'm a big subscriber in the individual. I do not like the group. I do not like the group think. I do not like outsourcing my things to other people that I don't have complete control over. So I'm this is my sphere of influence, and I'm going to put all of my energy into having good controls over my faculties and my emotions, making sure that I am not an obstacle in the way of other people. I do not like to be, a reason for anybody to have a worse day or get in the way of what they're trying to do. Everybody has their own problems, and collectively, it's great. I'm a charitable person, right? And so I think personally, I need to do works of charity. I need to take care of other people. I don't like when we outsource that and we have a bunch of people who want to control the charity of other people. Like, again, you can spend all of your time in your little sphere of influence. And then, so that's just a little bit of a preamble of what you get here with Joe. So all show long, if you want to give the program a call, 330-729-9977. And if you get on the narrative, it's going to get boring and I'm going to check out a little bit. But if you want to bring fresh new perspective and maybe, use Joe's engineering brain to kind of get through some of the math on this, and a lot of the details I don't really care about. It doesn't affect me. I don't have a say in it. I can't control it. If I'm talking about it, I'm gossiping about it because I don't feel like putting any effort into it. So let's, take a stance on some stuff that we do have direct control, how we can make the world a little bit better of a place. So over the weekend, I ran in the Youngstown Marathon half marathon relay. And all that means is you run a half marathon, but you involve 3 people to run 3 separate segments. And when I came in here yesterday, I was a little hurting, right? My muscles were a little sore because here's the deal. I am really good at running a 5K. And beyond that is really beyond my capabilities. And so a half marathon, it's basically 13 plus miles. When you divide that out, it ends up, my portion would have been 4.6 miles. And I've never in my life run more than 3.1 miles. And so I took this on knowing that it was out of my capabilities. It wasn't physically, like my muscles can actually do that kind of stuff. But my breathing and my heart rate gets elevated to a certain point where I'm short of breath and I'm just, exhausted from that standpoint. So my training was more about pacing myself and making sure my heart rate didn't get up. And I did it. I in fact, it was probably one of the best runs of my life. I didn't stop at all. I ran a really consistent pace, but it's just one of those things where, I love the human body and the mind, about how you can control the physical part of you by using your brain to overcome what you think that you can't do. I was 100% convinced that I would have to walk a portion of this race just because I knew the data about myself and what I was just not capable of. And in the end, I psyched myself into it, and I deluded myself into the fact that I wasn't going to stop, and I was going to pay attention to things that were in my control. And by the time I looked up, the race was over. So I'm feeling a little bit better today. I have a bunch of people that have been trying to convince me to run, yesterday and today, because it was been nice out, and I'm still in recovery mode. So it's one of those things where I probably will wait a couple days before I do it. But it makes me want to then push it to 5 miles or 6 miles, and just as a challenge. Like, I'm not even that great of a runner, and I don't get a lot of pleasure out of the run. But I like the fact that when my brain says something, I get to object and tell it what it's going to do, because I'm the one in control. So if my body ever said, like, hey, go have a cup of coffee, throw all caution to the wind and go get that coffee, I stand there and say, you're telling me what to do? Like, hey, how about this? I'm going to not drink coffee for a week. How would you like that? Just to show my brain that I am physically in control, and there's not a chemical in it that's going to make me do something that I don't want to do. And I'm real big on keeping that brain in check and, staying mentally strong. So 330-729-9977. Let's go to Tim first. Tim, you're on the Dan Rivers Show. How can I help you?
Oh, good morning to you and all of the 570 listeners, especially fellow libertarians. You are a breath of fresh air. I love free thinkers.
Thank you.
There's something I want to comment on real quick here, if I may.
Sure.
As a libertarian, we found ourselves last election and an election before probably voting for the lesser of two very bad. Well, actually, Trump was pretty good on his platform, but we had some serious problems when you jump into that Republican, that country club party, because we had this whole select group of never Trumpers. Okay, and when he was in there at one point, they had full control of everything and couldn't get anything done. And why? Because we had never Trumpers there. It would just back down any of his ideas, good or bad, because they were never Trumpers. Okay, and now we have this same scenario playing out right in front of us again in the House. It's embarrassing, but again, we're going to be voting for the lesser of two evils. Now, these never Trumpers, occasionally they show their faces, and there's one in particular from Howland. He calls in, he gives all of the hosts a really hard time and acts like he knows everything, Tony. And, it's the never Trumpers that have us in this economic situation that we're in all of the clown stuff going on that's been going on and politically. Just there's such a long list of things, and it's going to be the same thing. It's going to be the same thing. We're going to end up with another Democrat, because as you're seeing right now in front of us, the Republicans, they can't come together on anything. And when they have control, they give up the power. I really appreciate you listening to me. You have a good day, bud.
All right, Timmy, thank you so much for being out there. And I do agree with you. And my feeling about the federal government is it is a machine that is so dirty and brutal that there aren't many people who are willing to put themselves and their reputation through that and get decimated like it is. So you don't end up, you get every election is the lesser of two evils. And that will, there's the foreseeable future is going to be that forever. Because I can't think of the nicest, best person, that the most like lily white, good-natured person, and then really have a conversation about how they should run for federal government. Hey, let's do this. Let's take a good person and throw them into the chipper shredder, right? And you would never do that. So the only people that are willing to put themselves through that are the mud monsters like Trump and the I don't even know what to call Biden. He's just a forever politician who served his time and will carry the lines of the Democrat Party. And so he's perfect because he's Remember in Superman where those guys like became part of the machine? That's Joe Biden. He's part of that, integrated into the system of the machine. So he doesn't know anything different. So you have mud monsters who want to break everything and are so soiled that you can't soil them. And then you have the machine people who you can't break them away from the institution and the mechanisms and the gears. And that's what we're going to get forever, because the good people will never win. And I don't think that. So what do? Do we change the government so that nice people have an advantage in government? Or what my fellow libertarians are, advocate for is you take the federal government and you minimizes its influence. If we're going to get terrible people that run, make it so they're not in control of a whole bunch of stuff. Make it be like go to the federal government as a timeout where the news isn't dominated by the footprints that the federal government are leaving behind. Make them almost as so neutered that it's a, what I'm sure they've done this in some of the older civilizations in Europe. Make it just a show position where they don't really have any institutional power. The smart, good people are in control of the things that matter, and let the dumb, primitive people be the showpieces, and they can go around and yell at each other and let's, make it a reality TV show. But I minimize them because I don't have respect for that. I like smart people, and they are not. I like capable people, and they are not. I like people who are honest enough to know when they're playing the game and doing the dance and when they're being authentic in a person, and they are not the authentic version of it. So I have no respect for the federal government. And I have these arguments with people, and some of them I respect, but they are the opposite, where they are worshipers of government. They want government to do this, and they want government to solve this, and they want government to help this. And I'm looking at these people as never, and not the people that I'm arguing with, but I look at the people in government as they couldn't solve a problem, right? They can't solve any problem. They can break stuff. They can make simple things complicated. So giving them more stuff to do seems like the most idiotic thing that you could do. Where it's noble that these people I'm arguing with, they want people to be helped, and they think the mechanism of government is the best way to do it. And I'm just looking like, what data are you looking at? These people are inept. I don't want them in charge of making a meal, let alone, solving some important problem somewhere. If something needs broken, I'll put them on it. If something needs to be chaotic, I'll put it on him. If you want to waste a bunch of money, I'll put them on it. But that is the profile of what our government is good at. You can't convince me that there's anything that the government does well, right? Sure, there might be some benefits to it. Everybody's tasted a morsel of the government getting something right, but that's not the majority of the time that they're there. That morsel is meant to keep you addicted. That's the same thing the drug dealer is going to give you. They're going to give you that one little hit to keep you coming back, that's saying, hey, I wield so much power, right? I can solve all of your problem. I may be too big and stupid to actually solve any problem, but I could if I wanted to. And they keep people coming back to that altar, and they give up their integrity in worship of government. And I just think, it doesn't say a whole lot for us. And I'm sorry, Timothy, for thundering after what you had said, but too many of you just think too highly of this system, and you're delusional, and you're going to be disappointed, because go ahead and record every time that there's an advancement. Write down when you think the problem's been solved, right? It's like they might say, hey, balance the budget. Say how many times you say balance budget or peace somewhere, or, something that you want to cross off your list. Do you notice that every campaign for every federal position, it's always the same stuff that they're saying? They never solve any of the things they run on. None of them. Okay, if you're out there and listening and you think that they solve something that's been checked off the list, call me and tell me which one it is. There might be ones out there. I just can't think of one that matters, right? Anyway, 330-729-9977. Let's go to Dino. Dino, you're on the Dan Rivers Show. How can I help you?
Hey, Joe, this is Dino from Golden String Radio.
Hey, how are you?
Good. Hey, I want to thank you for listening to my son's show yesterday. He got a big kick out of that. It's Golden String Radio, which is an internet radio show run by adults with disabilities. And I want to thank you for supporting him down there. It means a lot.
Absolutely. He's one of my favorite hosts, and I love tuning in. He's such a genuinely nice guy, and I love his show.
I know we're just a little radio show. We're not professionals like you, but we try to do our best. And it's part of Purple Cat. You know, Jimmy Sutton and the whole group down there, and they have the Purple Cat and Golden String Radio, which is on Phelps Street downtown. And it's a little internet radio show, www.goldenstringradio.org. You can listen to shows put on by adults with disabilities, and they have different sports shows and country show, rock and roll, and and we had you down there. We would like to get you back down there again.
Heck yeah, we will totally do that again. Thank you, Dino. Appreciate the phone call, bud. And if you're listening out there, I want to check out Golden Strings Radio. They do a great job giving these guys a platform to be able to share their talents and their musical ability and their show hosting ability. So thank you, Dino. Appreciate everything you do, bud. All right, we're going to take a break. We'll come back. 330-729-9977. Text me at 333-1570. You're listening to the Dan Rivers Show on 570 WKBN. I'll be back.
Canfield Rhino and Truck Accessories in Canfield is your connection for all of your truck accessory needs. We specialize in Rhino spray-in truck bed liners and crown rust protection. You can get them both along with custom wheels, lift kits, accessories, all right here in Canfield. Call Canfield Rhino and Rust Protection at 330-702-8888. We're here to help you with any of your truck and Jeep accessories. Call Canfield Rhino now at 330-702-8888 or CanfieldRhino.com. That's CanfieldRhino.com.
I'm Dr. Cheryl Figliano with the Centers for Hearing Care. If you or someone you love is having difficulty hearing, it's time to make a change in the quality of life. Your journey with hearing begins at Centers for Hearing Care. Our doctors of audiology have the right equipment and the best results. We've been solving our community's hearing issues for over 34 years. Your journey to better hearing begins at Centers for Hearing Care. Call our Boardman office at 330-726-3339 and we'll get you scheduled in the office that's closest to you.
What can Keystone Blind Association do for you? Services are provided daily to visually impaired children and adults throughout Western PA and Eastern Ohio. Services include transportation, assistance with daily living, mobility instruction, vision rehab therapy, prevention of blindness programs, employment opportunities, and more. To learn more, visit KeystoneBlind.org. That's KeystoneBlind.org.
Keystone, our vision works.
Good Tuesday, my dear friends. Hey, the future of joint pain relief is here. I'm happy to be a spokesman. It's QC Kinetics. They've helped so many people. Advanced regenerative medicine, amazing stuff. KINETIX. If you want to look it up, it really works. If you've been told more steroids or surgery are your only options, don't be so quick to judge. Get a second opinion. Learn more about how you can harness your body's own healing agents to attack that joint pain. Now, I'm not going to go on forever. I'm going to give you the phone number 3 times, so make sure you call and get the no-obligation appointment. They can help you. 234-201-9299, 234-201-9299. Imagine living your life joint and pain-free. 234-201-9299. Tell them Dan sent you.
The iHeartRadio app and the NFL right in your pocket. The home of the NFL Podcast Network, covering all 32 NFL teams, plus all the expert advice to win your fantasy league. And, of course, live NFL games. Touchdown! Download the free iHeartRadio app today. Free never sounded so good.
I have visited Copeland Oaks. What a fantastic place. 250-acre campus in the country. They provide assisted living apartments, assisted living with memory care if needed, independent living villas with apartments and lawn maintenance, providing and repairing appliances if needed. They provide skilled nursing and therapeutic activities. It's pet-friendly, 3 dining venues, beauty and barbershop. Let me give you the number twice, 330-938-6126, 330-938-6126, or CopelandOaks.com.
Why should the Federal Reserve have so much power over your IRA or 401k? Whether they create a new bubble with low interest rates or pop the last bubble with high interest rates, a group of unelected government officials has no business deciding your future. Hi, I'm Dr. Ron Paul, and this is just one more reason why I recommend a physical gold IRA from Birch Gold Group. Because precious metals are the best way to maintain your financial independence. And now you can hold gold inside of a tax-advantaged account. To learn more, text the word HEDGE to 989898. And my friends at Birch Gold will send you a free info kit on gold IRAs. Birch Gold is the only gold IRA company I trust, so text HEDGE to 989898 to request your free info kit right now.
Do you have computer issues but no IT staff? Let us help. Call Youngstown Computer for all your computer needs. Call 330-259-7278 or visit youngstowncomputer.com.
All right, got your Storm Team 27 forecast, and today is going to be high at 72. It's going to be beautiful. Tomorrow, 70. It is 47 degrees right here in good old Youngstown, Ohio. All right, more with the show. We are back with the Dan Rivers Show. I'm Joe Danyi sitting in today. We're going to take calls right off the get-go. So, Pete, you're on the Dan Rivers Show. How can I help you?
All right, you're always talking about, I got like 3 topics here, but I'm going to start off, you're always talking about less government, correct? Okay, so at what point you're going to get rid of the IRS, OSHA, EPA, highway standards, building standards? I mean, is that what you want to get rid of?
Oh, I would. I'm a guy that would wreck it all, take it down to 0, and then find the pieces that we're working and build back again. Because either you're going to do it through attrition, where we're going to fix it little by little, or we need to take a wrecking ball to it and start from scratch. And I don't think I think we're so corrupt that attrition isn't even possible.
Well, corruption is going to be there regardless, one way or the other. Corruption is always going to be there because there's always going to be greedy people, always going to find shortcuts so it don't work, so that they make more money. This is why we need the rules. This is why we need the regulations to protect us from ourselves and from crooked people. And it ain't just politicians.
Yeah, but we have the rules, and they find ways not to have to follow them. So you can have all the rules in the world, and if we are so big and bloated that we can't even enforce the rules that there are, we need to be really tiny, microscopic, and only operate in which the rules that we can control. If it gets to the point where the rules can't govern it, that it needs to be small enough, or shrunk down to be small enough that we can manage it.
Okay, so in other words, you're telling me that we're just going to blast all of that stuff and let all the sewage that's coming out of these plants, the EPA rules of governing cars and how they're putting out the way they build cars to make them safe. I mean, to you, that's a dream. It's a dream world to me, because we have to have these rules to protect us, to protect the normal person that walks up and down the streets or drives.
Yeah, and we can do it. We're smart enough that we can do both. And, I do get excited when you say something like kill the IRS down to 0, but we can build it as we destroy what the cancer site. We cut the cancerous part out. We have a plan to be able to put the new non-cancerous version of that. So, Pete, stay right there. I'm going to come back to you. I want to talk to you a little bit more. You're listening to the Dan Rivers Show on 570 WKBN. I'll be right back.
13 Days of Halloween Penance, Season 4 of the award-winning horror fiction podcast presented in immersive 3D audio.
If I am under arrest, you have to tell me what I'm charged with.
Starring Natalie Morales of Parks and Recreation and Dead to Me.
Please, there's been some kind of mistake. I'm not supposed to be here.
How do you know?
I'm innocent.
Are any of us truly innocent?
Premiering October 19th, ending Halloween. Listen to 13 Days of Halloween on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hi, this is Scott Trout of Cordell & Cordell. If you're a dad who is facing divorce, there are extra layers of stress that may include stereotypes and assumptions. No two situations are the same. Our legal experience and dedication prepare us for whatever legal challenges we face together. You need a partner you can count on. For more than 30 years, Cordell & Cordell has represented men in divorce.
Schedule an appointment with one of Cordell & Cordell's Cleveland area attorneys. 5005 Rockside Road, Suite 350, Independence, Ohio, 44131.
Now, your chance to win $1,000. Enter this nationwide keyword on our website. WIN. That's WIN. Enter it now at 570WKBN.com.
I think it's time.
It's time.
Time
to stay informed.
the time to act.
Stay connected.
The clock.
Check in 3, 4,
The clock is ticking.
5 times
Time is now up.
a day on 570 WKBN. 570 WKBN.
Two elderly hostages released by Hamas militants. They are both doing well, back with their families, even though other relatives who were kidnapped with them are still being held. Bombardments go on in Gaza, the White House trying to urge the Israelis to pull back amid fears of a wider conflict. ABC White House correspondent Karen Travers has more.
President Biden spoke Monday afternoon to Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. According to a readout from the White House, the president welcomed the release of 2 additional hostages from Gaza Monday and reaffirmed his administration's commitment to efforts to secure the release of all the remaining hostages taken by Hamas. President Biden also underscored the need to keep a continuous flow of humanitarian assistance going into Gaza. He updated the prime minister on what the White House called, quote, ongoing efforts at regional deterrence and the latest U.S. military deployments to the region. Karen Travers, ABC News, Washington.
With continuing coverage, Israel-Hamas war, I'm Sherry Preston, ABC News.
Our next update at 10. Free never sounded so good.
I'm free.
The free iHeartRadio app in the App Store or online. 570 WKBN.
Weather brought to you by Mazda Heating and Cooling and Bryant, keeping you comfortable year-round.
Starting out the morning with clear conditions, and then today will be much improved. Mostly sunny skies, high temperatures in the low 70s, south wind at 5 to 10 miles per hour. Then tonight, increasing clouds, lows only in the low 50s. For tomorrow, mostly cloudy skies, a slight chance of a shower, highs still mild, around 70 degrees. From the Storm Team 27 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Adam Clayton.
Seems like COVID's everywhere again, but there's good news from Pfizer. This season's updated COVID-19 shots are now available for ages 6 months and up, and they're designed to better protect against recent variants. Ask your pharmacist or doctor and schedule at vaccines.gov. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Now you can relive the greatest moments from our 2023 iHeartRadio Music Festival.
Streaming only on Hulu.
Lenny Kravitz kicks things off with his biggest hits.
Foo Fighters get the whole crowd singing along.
Tim McGraw debuts his new song live.
Public Enemy brings the 90s hip-hop energy.
Fall Out Boy covers a classic while literally on fire. And so much more.
Relive the greatest moments from our iHeartRadio Music Festival.
Streaming now only on Hulu for a limited time.
This is the last call for Berman Electric in the Valley. Beautiful lighting products at below internet prices. All remaining inventory is on the floor to see. You can't afford to miss this one. For 95 years, Berman's has provided the highest quality lighting to our area. Hard to find electrical supplies, tons of lamp repair parts, cords, and more. Odd bulbs, ballast sockets, and more. Help Berman's retire with pride that our Valley supported them. Extended hours until 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. Stop in today.
Why are the world's central banks quietly yet aggressively amassing mountains of gold? Because they know a storm is brewing, the type we might witness only once in our lifetimes. They understand that America's vastly inflated currency doesn't have much life left. And when it finally dies, gold will be a bedrock of stability just as it has for thousands of years. Hi, Stephen K. Bannon, and I urge you to do as central banks are doing. How? By diversifying your IRA or 401k into physical gold with Birch Gold Group. This will protect your savings from inflation, political instability, and economic crashes. To see how it works, get a free info kit on gold IRAs by texting the word safeguard to 989898. Birch Gold is the only gold company I trust, so text safeguard to the number 989898. Again, that's safeguard to 989898 to get your free info kit on gold. There's no obligation or purchase required.
All right. Welcome back, everybody. This is the Dan Rivers program. I am Joe Danyi, hosting, sitting in for the rest of this program for Dan, who's vacationing. And right before the break, we were talking about my opinion of shrinking the influence of the federal government. Caller was brought up the point about, dismantling these agencies that do have, the benefits of regulations that do protect from things like the EPA, from people poisoning water supplies, and the IRS from funding all these great programs. And I held Pete back over. Let's bring him back in the conversation. Pete, I appreciate you being there and waiting through that break. And so, thankfully, I don't have the scepter where nobody's going to allow me to go in there and rip out these agencies and create this anarchy. I'm kind of speaking sort of like from a theoretical standpoint that's what I would do, because that's ripping the Band-Aid completely off. I think, what you're suggesting is that there's a seam of necessity in some of these agencies, but will you agree that there's also a lot of stuff outside of that seam of necessity that's a little bit oppressive? Pete, you with me?
No, I'm right here with you. I'm just trying to figure out how to answer that question.
Okay, yeah, I'll give it a couple minutes. That's fair.
My standpoint of view is no. They're trying out there to protect my children, myself, and you. I mean, what gets me is we can pay this debt off if only we get the right people to act correctly and pay their fair share. I mean, the conservative Republicans' view has always been raise the age to which you retire and give out tax breaks. If that's the case, I want all those conservative Republicans to take a 15% pay cut, because that's what's hurting us. We're not collecting enough money from people who are deliberately not paying their full fair share in taxes. I have to, you have to, excuse me, and other people normal that can. But the people that can afford to pay these taxes aren't paying their full fair share with all these tax breaks being put out there.
See, that's the part of this argument that it's terribly convenient that we create bloated government that needs more money than we have, and then we immediately use that as an excuse of go to take something away from somebody that you have no say. Like that is, you're not entitled to other people's stuff. And that's where we get into tyrannical. We created an excuse big enough to go get other people's stuff, and that's just too convenient for me.
How can that be? I am forced by federal and state regulations to pay X amount of dollars out in my taxes. But when you give tax breaks away for people who can afford to pay more taxes to help pay the bill, I don't understand. That's insane. One of the insane definitions of insanity is doing something over and over again and expecting different results when it don't.
Are we talking like a legal obligation where there's people that are skating out on what they're legally obligated to pay? Or are you saying that even they're paying their legal obligations, there should be more attached to that?
No, legal obligations you got to pay. But the thing of it is when you take away the amount that they should pay to help pay the bill, how is that helping? That's not helping the economy. That's not helping the people. That's not helping the people that put money into Social Security and stuff so they don't have to work till they're about ready to die. That's not fair. That's not fair to the working people. And you continuously go on about lessening the government when we need the government a little bit more. I mean, think about it. Is it Joe Biden's fault? Explain to me why so many conservative Republicans are saying that our economy is going so high that it's driving all the prices up. I want to know who decides the prices that the products are being sold.
Well, I want to tell you that this is the line that ends in that tyranny that I was talking about. That more help that you're quoting might sound like it's a noble gesture to help people, but when you create the lopsided necessity where the prosperous of your nation are your ATMs, where you use their mechanism, what they've done to be able to prop up something that is inauthentic, it isn't real. I would rather tackle the authentic problem than to prop it up and allow government to bloat because of it. It's just not a fair, using your word, it's not a fair directive to point it at somebody else. You can't create fairness by taking one thing that's unjust and then making another thing unjust. It's just not, it doesn't have a good end.
How would this being unjust by paying your fair share?
Describe it. All right, give me a definition of fair share. I'll answer it, but I just need to know what fair share means.
What tax breaks do I get? I don't get any
What-
tax breaks at all, except the normal ones that you and I and people in our states can get.
All right,
But
give me that then. What's a tax break? Like, what tax break is somebody getting that you're not?
Well, like the tax break of you make so much money and you're allowed you should only have to pay so much on the money you make.
Tax.
I'm sorry. What?
Give that to me again. So there's a tax law that says, go ahead, give that to me again.
All right, let me throw it at you this way.
Sure.
As my father once told me, God, I'm so happy I'm not rich, because then I won't have to sit around and worry about how to hide my money so I don't have to pay taxes. And that's a big thing. They got to try and figure out how to take their money, move it so they don't have to pay their fair share in taxes. I mean, that makes sense to me.
So give me an example of a person that's doing this, so I can kind of like look at how it's slanted in a certain way that gives that person an advantage. Give me an example of a person that you're citing.
All right, big corporations and millionaires, pick them. Pick one you want.
So are we talking about income tax, like you paying an income tax versus them paying an income tax?
That's correct.
Okay, so corporations don't really have an income. They have employees that create incomes, and all of those people that are on payrolls pay their taxes. So Amazon would be a company that has employees. I bet you all of those people that they pay income taxes just like you do.
To a certain point.
Okay, give me that point. That's what I want to look into.
That make all that money are able to make so much money that they can go ahead and move their money to hide what they pay.
Who? You're citing this mystery person.
You've got a home loan for your house. At the end of the year, you can deduct the interest that the bank made on your money that they lent you.
Okay.
All right. So they have to pay tax on that. But if they can find some other way to deliberately hide it, they don't have to pay all that tax.
Are we so we'll say a bank president. So he is an employee, collects a paycheck, and then how does he hide that money? Is it like an illegal thing where he puts it somewhere where the IRS can't see it, or what is hiding it?
Well, that's part of it, where the IRS can't see it or can't touch it. Overseas bank accounts, things of that nature, or they move it around so that they won't have to pay the taxes on it.
Okay, so when he collects a paycheck, is he moving it after he pays taxes on the paycheck or before he pays taxes on it? Because I think when I get a paycheck, they already kind of remove that in the beginning. And then if I take that money and I move it overseas, then it's already been taxed once, right? So is that the money you're talking about?
The money I'm talking about is at the end of the year, if you make a decent money, you still have to pay on your state and federal taxes.
Income, correct.
They have a way of trying to figure out how to not to pay it. And they can hide it. They can move it around. They can put it in things and put it away. Oh, I paid into this program here. I put it into this program there. And then it doesn't help. It does not pay the bill to which we got going on.
All right, Pete, thank you so much. I appreciate you being out there. I think what you're talking about is you're comparing income tax with corporate taxes, and you're making them sort of interchangeable. And if there's fudging that's going on in the corporate side, then I could totally be open to that. Just like they're fudging on the side of people trying to escape taxes, like Hunter Biden making loans so that he doesn't have to pay taxes on it, or getting these incoming money from foreign entities and not paying taxes on it. If taxes, we started out this conversation with the government being so big that it requires all of this taxes. And your claim was that there are people that if they would just pay their fair share would fill in that gaps and then we wouldn't have this deficit. But I have a feeling that your party kind of pitted you against the unknown cloud, that there's these rebels out there that don't want to pay taxes. I live in a world where I'm really close to corporate entities, and I'm telling you that there aren't these nefarious escape mechanisms that people around the boardroom are trying to figure out how to not pay taxes. There are laws that govern taxes. And so, if somebody wanted to sit down and say there's corporate laws too beneficial to wealthy people, let's look at these segments and shore it up, then I'm open to that. Make it legal, make it known. Don't keep changing the rules on it. Know what you're, sort of like what a corporation is, legally and agreed upon, what their responsibility is back to the marketplace that they provide services into, just like you do on the, individual, paychecks that you govern. Everybody's agreed that the percentage is enough. And then the federal government, do you notice this? Like, while we're figuring out who's not paying enough, the federal government keeps spending more and more every time that they're issued a budget. They get to sit around and say, hey, while you guys are picking on each other and punching each other in the mouth, you're not worrying about how we're the most irresponsible mathematics people on the planet. We just get to blow through budgets and pretend like there weren't any constraints on us, but keep bickering amongst yourself and keep going after the guy that you don't think's paying enough. Really, the federal government's at blame here. So let's pay attention to them. And once we get them rooted out, then we can worry about who's not paying. Figure out how to spend and manage what you're already been given right now before you take one look at a taxpayer you think he's escaping his obligation. Federal government doesn't get to do that. They're not going to pit us against them. We're going to have that conversation much after we figure out why you're not so good at math over in the halls of Congress. 330-729-9977. Let's go to Bill next. Bill, you're on the Dan Rivers Show. How can I help you?
I didn't call for this, but can I say that it seems like there's some confusion between tax evasion and illegal tax avoidance?
Sure.
When they're, you can't not take advantage of every single deduction that the government, that the IRS allows, and then say, and it's not fair that they're doing it. This is illegal. If they were avoiding taxes, they'd have everything confiscated.
Yes.
And I think people confuse that, but that's not why I called.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry. Thank you.
I called. I didn't want to talk about politics because of where I think Youngstown Studio is located. You might understand this. I hate the urban sprawl. I'm part of the urban sprawl, sort of. I never lived in an inner city. But how do we start to get, I don't know, the world or other businesses to turn back to the cities, to the downtowns, and say, wait a minute, we're maybe going too far. Maybe we shouldn't leave all this in the dust, because I feel like the further away we get from downtowns, whatever that downtown is, there's usually places where there was a lot of culture. And I feel like the further we get away from that, for one thing, we just leave this great big, what should I say, like hole, like a great big chasm that was a downtown that was prosperous, and there was a lot of culture there. And we lose all of it. And am I right to say that you maybe in some way? I think you've been trying to get people to go downtown and bring their business to those downtown businesses.
Yeah,
right?
And I'm glad you brought that up,
there's
because
got to be a reason.
Yeah, for sure.
So there's got to be a reason. I'm like, I think that we need to turn back instead of just continually ruining. I hate telling people, like, maybe, things like, oh, you're not allowed to do X with your property, like that big solar farm. I don't care. It's somebody's property. Do what you want to do with your property. But at some point, like we need to change a mentality of people to want to go back and say, you know what, we shouldn't have left that in ruins, because it was very valuable. And it's valuable now. It's still valuable. It's worth, I don't want to say urban renewal, because it's like re-renewal, or maybe it is. It's just the whole subject. What do you think? I want to hear what you say about it.
Yeah, and thanks for calling. I appreciate it, and I'm going to actually answer the rest of your question after we take come back from this break, because I want to give it enough time. But I'm really glad you brought this up, because we are sort of like we do have so many valuable assets that were achieved from an era before us. And we have to like deserve that going into the next era. And I think the biggest shift in how we feel is the looking in the rearview mirror and punching ourselves in the face every time that we look at where we've come from, instead of forward-looking people kind of taking it in what we can be, what are the potentials, what are the possibilities, without getting gang tackled by everybody who reminds you of what came before you. Right? There's enough, face punches to go around. There's enough truth out there that we have not done everything right, could have done things better. And there's lots of people that will tell you about the blimp factories and the chill can plants, and anything that didn't quite go right is another punch in the face. But what we have to sculpt here is that when people put themselves and invest in something, they lend a part of themselves to prop it up. Phil Kidd did this. Derek McDowell does that. I do that, where I want something more than the thing wants it for itself. So I have to almost bring people begrudgingly into something that they don't yet quite have faith and understanding or belief in. But I'm going to answer the rest of this when we come back, because there's a little bit more that I'd like to add to it. So anyone out there, 330-729-9977. You can text me at 333-1570. This is the Dan Rivers Show on 570 WKBN. I'll be back.
Time for the experts at R. Kashmiri & Associates to review your Medicare plan. Open enrollment runs now through December 7th. Let them design a personalized benefits package. R. Kashmiri authorized agents partner with top insurance companies. Go to rkashmiri.com. That's RKASHMIRY.com. We do not offer every plan available in your area. Currently, we represent 12 organizations which offer 94 products in your area. Please contact Medicare.gov, 1-800-MEDICARE, or your local state health insurance program to get information on all of your options.
Dan Rivers with Dr. Cheryl Figliano. Cheryl, COVID is back. Have you heard this?
I have. COVID is back. And I'll tell you, if you're out there listening and you've had COVID in the past and you have ringing in your ears or hearing loss, it's not a coincidence. Also, if you've had the vaccine or the booster and now you have ringing in your ears or hearing loss, come in for a simple hearing test.
Okay. So actually, they may have lost hearing and they need help.
Yes,
all right.
absolutely.
COVID is back. Unfortunately, folks, we're going to recommend that you call the Centers for Hearing Care. They have 6 offices. They care about you. Austintown, Boardman, Columbiana, Howland, Liberty, Salem. My highest recommendation that you call Dr. Cheryl Figliano and the Centers for Hearing Care. 330-779-8096.
iHeart Podcast Update. This week on your free iHeartRadio app. The Ben Ferguson Podcast. Ben Ferguson brings you the commentary on the news that the biased media will not cover. The Tudor Dixon Podcast. Talk to the biggest names in politics and conservative media, and most importantly, we'll get you the truth about the issues that affect you, your family, and our American way of life. The Truth with Lisa Booth. Cut through the noise and get straight to the heart of what actually matters with the political and legislative impact of the hottest issues. Hear these podcasts and more on your free iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcast.
Good Tuesday, my dear friends. Hey, the future of joint pain relief is here. I'm happy to be a spokesman. It's QC Kinetics. They've helped so many people. Advanced regenerative medicine, amazing stuff. KINETIX. If you want to look it up, it really works. If you've been told more steroids or surgery are your only options, don't be so quick to judge. Get a second opinion. Learn more about how you can harness your body's own healing agents to attack that joint pain. Now, I'm not going to go on forever. I'm going to give you the phone number 3 times, so make sure you call and get the no-obligation appointment. They can help you. 234-201-9299, 234-201-9299. Imagine living your life joint and pain-free. 234-201-9299. Tell them Dan sent you.
Why should the Federal Reserve have so much power over your IRA or 401k? Whether they create a new bubble with low interest rates or pump the last bubble with high interest rates, a group of unelected government officials has no business deciding your future. Hi, I'm Dr. Ron Paul, and this is just one more reason why I recommend a physical gold IRA from Birch Gold Group. because precious metals are the best way to maintain your financial independence. And now you can hold gold inside of a tax-advantaged account. To learn more, text the word HEDGE to 989898. And my friends at Birch Gold will send you a free info kit on gold IRAs. Birch Gold is the only gold IRA company I trust, so text HEDGE to 989898 to request your free info kit right now.
Well, now, it wasn't too long ago that we had our water tested by Gordon Brothers, and we now have the Gordon Brothers water system in our home. I urge you to do the same. There are so many benefits of having this system in your home. You can even order all your supplies from them. They'll come to your home for free to test your water, and they're at 776 North Ellsworth in Salem, or you can go to gordonbroswater.com. Here's the number, 1-800-331-7611. Thanks for listening.
All right, I got your Storm Team 27 forecast. We got beautiful weather coming up. 72 degrees is the high today, 70 tomorrow with 20% chance of rain. It's 47 degrees right here in Youngstown, Ohio. All right, more to the show. We're going to be lining up a segment with Jerry Bastrino from Gem Young Wealth Advisors. So everybody on the line, I'm going to get with Paul here real quick, and then anybody else on the line, if you could call back after that segment, I'll be more than happy to talk to you then. In the last segment, we talked a little bit about Youngstown, and I will come back to that, but I want to make sure that I hit Paul here real quick. Paul, you're on the Dan Rivers Show. How can I help you?
Joe, I don't know if you remember me. I told you years ago that your brain was too big for Youngstown. I don't know if you remember that.
I do. How you doing, Paul?
Like Devin said, we got so many things going on. This is nasty. They got this Indian movie coming out telling you how bad America was back then. And we got the things we got in Florida, they don't want black history taught. They don't want the true history taught about America. All the things that so-called made America great. They don't want to go through that again. I always used to tell Dan Rivers, I think we need to go out to the middle of the ocean, turn around and come back and start over again. Just like I think you said something similar to that.
Yeah, right.
But, that ain't going to happen because you got too many people here in Youngstown that's got pensions involved in Social Security. They got money coming in from all kinds of shenanigans over the years. And you think they're going to start over again now? It ain't happening.
No way.
Just like your one caller, you sit around with a bunch of boys and they always say, well, these guys don't pay no taxes. But they just hearing that. They don't know that.
Right.
Just like Donald Trump. He don't pay no taxes. They don't know that. They don't know Donald Trump. All they know is what somebody told them about Donald Trump or whatever. I ain't support just him, but there's a lot of people they get, if you like you say, when your one caller say, am I breaking the law because I take advantage of the loopholes that they give me so I don't have to pay no taxes? Well, if you love America, it seems like you would just let them have all your money.
That's right.
That's what I say. If you love America that much, give them all your money and let them take care of you. Because these people that don't want government, I say give them a first aid kit, a garden hose, and a pistol, and then you stay home and you take care of yourself and see how long that lasts.
Absolutely. All right, Paul, thank you, Mud.
Hey, I guess one question right quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
Where's Brother Mo at? Y'all still work together?
You know what? I texted him a little while ago. I have not heard back. So he's either in really good shape or really poor shape. So I'll find out.
All right, let us know.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, Paul.
Yo, boy. All right, take it easy.
All right, appreciate it. And Paul hit all the nails on the head there. A lot of us just parrot that, and again, that pitting against one another. But here's one thing. You are allowed to pay all the taxes you want. If you're a tax lover, send them some extra money. 330-729-9977. We'll be back.
Good Tuesday, friends. Nice to have you along here this morning. Most Baird Brothers products are created right here in our backyard. That's right. 7060 Crory Road in Canfield, which makes it very easy for you to get to. Now, they have a large imprint across the entire nation, but that means that you've got access right here in your valley. That means speed of getting something that you want right now. And you've heard me speaking about Baird for some time now. It's because their name is so well known across the country, and we have them right here in our own backyard. Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods is the only place to go if you're thinking about remodeling your home, putting in hardwood flooring, any of the kinds of things that make a house a home. And that live sawn white oak is very popular right now, so consider that. Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods, 7060 Crory Road, Canfield, or simply go to beardbrothers.com.
The Valley's first since 1926. Your number one source for news, talk, information, and more. News Radio 570, WKBN, Youngstown. The time is 10 o'clock.
From ABC News, I'm Sherry Preston. French President Emmanuel Macron, the latest high-level leader to visit Israel, and he's got a plan in place for fighting Hamas terrorists as the bombing intensifies in Gaza and 2 elderly hostages are released. ABC's Tom Rivers reports from the foreign desk.
Macron doesn't want other players like Iranian-backed Hezbollah in Lebanon to escalate the conflict. But what he's proposing would certainly intensify divisions in the region.
I consider that this is an international coalition in order to fight against these terrorist groups that we have to build.
The idea he's floating to build a coalition against those groups supporting Hamas, similar to ones formed in the past to fight ISIS. But that could be explosive and create huge problems for him back home and in any other country considering it. Tom Rivers, ABC News at the Foreign Desk.
2 women, one aged 85, the other 79, are back in Israel this morning after being released by Hamas in a deal brokered by Egypt and Qatar. Another one of Donald Trump's co-defendants in the Fulton County, Georgia election interference case. Attorney Jenna Ellis is taking a plea deal. She becomes the 4th defendant to do so. Like the other deals, Ellis is getting probation in exchange for her testimony moving forward. Donald Trump face-to-face with former fixer Michael Cohen today at another trial. Cohen will be testifying against him at Trump's New York City fraud case. They both just showed up in the courthouse. There are now 7 men running for Speaker of the House as another of those showing interest drops out of the race. The front runner still Minnesota's Tom Emmer. Here's ABC's Rachel Scott.
The former president did speak by phone to several of the candidates, including Emmer and Congressman Byron Donalds, who is a newcomer to Capitol Hill but considered a favorite among far-right conservatives. Every single candidate has signed a pledge to support the eventual nominee, and whoever that is will face significant challenges. There is a looming government shutdown right before Thanksgiving and a fierce debate over whether to provide billions of dollars in aid to Ukraine and Israel.
This is ABC News.
Police in Youngstown are looking for a shooting suspect that left the person in the hospital. 42-year-old Benjamin White is accused of a Monday morning robbery involving 2 people in the 200 block of Gaither Avenue. The victim and a woman called police to report the crime. Police in East Palestine also say White faces charges there, accused of falsely taking advantage of a program offered to victims of the East Palestine train derailment. Investigators say White provided fictitious hotel receipts to Norfolk Southern, did not live in East Palestine, and used a fictitious address to receive over $16,000. 40-year-old David Hubbard has been indicted in a felony assault and strangulation case. The charges stem from an incident in Howland back in September on North Road, where a woman told police she was sleeping when Hubbard came in and screamed at her, then pulled her out of the bed by her hair and began hitting her multiple times. Hubbard pleaded not guilty to the charges last week. He's expected back in court in November. 116 deer have been killed so far after 3 weeks in the Mill Creek Metro Parks Deer Reduction Program on Mill Creek Metro Parks properties. That total includes 23 taken between October 15th and Saturday, and 30 claimed from the Metro Parks Golf Course on Route 224 at Boardman. The permitted hunting season for the Metro Parks Reduction Plan runs through the end of January. Residents in East Palestine and the surrounding areas, along with Senators J.D. Vance and Sherrod Brown and other federal lawmakers, have sent a letter to the Federal Environmental Protection Agency administrator regarding additional indoor air screening to ensure the homes are safe. The EPA has repeatedly said that all air quality data has shown no concerning levels of derailment-related chemicals in the air. The letter says if more extensive air sampling detects chemicals of concern, the EPA should direct Norfolk Southern to conduct necessary and immediate cleaning to remedy. And Rebecca Shaw has been sentenced to 8 to 12 years in prison after being convicted of aggravated arson. The charge stems from a house fire on 5th Street in Salem back in June of 2021. 3 people were inside at the time, but made it out safely. From the 570 WKBN newsroom, I'm Dave Price.
Our next update at 10:30.
The voice of Youngstown, Warren, Sharon and Newcastle too. Great talk every step of your day, so much more than just the news. We're talking, you're listening to 570 WKBN.
Bright, beautiful, confident smiles by Premier Dental of Ohio.
Weather brought to you by Mazda Heating and Cooling and Bryant, keeping you comfortable year-round.
Starting out the morning with clear conditions, and then today will be much improved. Mostly sunny skies, high temperatures in the low 70s, south wind at 5 to 10 miles per hour. Then tonight, increasing clouds, lows only in the low 50s. For tomorrow, mostly cloudy skies, a slight chance of a shower, highs still mild, around 70 degrees. From the Storm Team 27 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Adam Clayton.
54 at 570 WKBN.
Paid for by SeeTheLanguage.com.
This November, Ohio is facing a ballot issue decision on abortion and so much more. Have you seen the language of the amendment? Please, before you vote, see the language at SeeTheLanguage.com. That's SeeTheLanguage.com. Thank you.
All right, welcome back, everybody. This is the Dan Rivers program. We're going to take a pause from our topics here. In studio, we have Jerry from Gem Young Wealth Advisors. Jerry, how you doing, bud?
Good, Joe. Thanks for having me in here.
Absolutely. So we're going to talk Medicare today.
Yes, we are.
And I am, as innocent as there is on knowing anything about Medicare, aside from it's a line item on the federal budget. That's the extent that I know about it. So why don't you bring me up to speed and tell me what the basics here?
Well, one of the things, because you're a little bit younger, so you got plenty of time before you need to start thinking about this. People like myself heading towards their late 50s, they're starting to be concerned about it. And of course, the people in their 60s, and definitely the big point is that 65-year-old. So 65 is when you're entitled to Medicare. You're automatically enrolled at your 65th birthday and for your Parts A and Part B, and we'll go over that a little bit. But once you're enrolled, then you kind of start the process of the things that you need to add on to Medicare.
So when you graduate up into Social Security, Medicare is the medical component that goes along with that.
That is your Medicare. Right. That's your medical coverage that you're going to use for your senior years. Unless you have other credible coverages, you can stay employed. So there's all different avenues. And I think that's where people start to get a little confused as far as I don't know what to do. And that's what I hear all the time. Even my family, my sister just turned 65. What am I supposed to do now? And so I'm working with her, to go through that. But I mean, the big things you need to remember with your Medicare, your big 4 parts. Part A, that's your hospitalization. That's the one that's automatic. If you've worked 10 years, in your job and paid into Social Security and paid into Medicare, then you're going to get that free of charge. It's the free of charge that everybody opts into. Part B, that's going to be your doctor's visits. And so that's the one that you're going to pay a little bit out of your Social Security. So it's $164.90. This year, it's going up to $174.60, I believe, here in 2024. So
that's your premium out of every.
That is for your monthly payment that you're going to pay in for your Part B, and that's your doctor's visits. So, but what that does, then you also have co-pays, co-insurances, and that's where the plan kind of helps out. You're going to opt into either a Part B supplement or Part A and Part B supplement. That's one avenue, and what that's going to end up doing is supplementing your co-insurances, your deductibles, things along that lines. And a lot of people opt that way. It's a nice way to go because it gives you the option to go to any doctor you want. So any doctor that sees a Medicare patient and that person has a supplement coverage, they can walk in the door and say, I'd like to see, this doctor at this time, they get their appointment, go in, show them that their supplement card, and then it factors into what their payments is. Are there a copay? Is there, a percentage that they pay for that visit? The other options, well, they're going to be the Part C. So that's the one that everyone talks about. You're seeing all the commercials about. It's the Medicare Advantage plan. So right now is the annual enrollment period. So that started on October 15th. It'll run through December 7th. And this is when people look at their plans and you see, like I said, you see all the commercials. Call us about, we'll help with this. We'll put money back in your pocket, and we can go over that a little bit. But those are the plans that are a private insurance company that take over for Medicare. So you're no longer in your Medicare Part A and Part B. You now have your Medicare Advantage plan that kind of takes over. So it's a private insurance. So they kind of go hand in hand, but they must follow the plans that Medicare has set up. So you'll have a completely different card. A lot of the Medicare Advantage plans will have drug plans with them. They'll have eye care. They'll have dental. And a lot of people like that because when you're on your straight Medicare or original Medicare and you have a supplement, those are all little things that you have to add in. So you got to add in the dental, you got to add in the eye. So, like I said, it's two choices. Here at our open enrollment, what we have going on is people that are actually in their Medicare. So, like I said, if they're in their supplement, they can take a look and say, I want to look at an Advantage plan, and they have the option to move. If they're in an Advantage plan, they want to go to another Advantage plan, they can do that. If they want to go to a supplement plan, they can do that. But there's also, stipulations. So the older you get, if you're going to a supplement, you may have some underwriting for health issues. So that's where people like myself, and others in the industry, that's where we come in, because it is confusing, and the television commercial isn't just telling you everything. Call your agent, call advisor, and say, hey, how do I do this if I want to go from this plan to this? So and going along with that, these people that are making these changes, they can do it numerous times here until December 7th. This is all the plans that we're setting up for January 1st for 2024. That's what this big enrollment is, this annual enrollment. So people are looking at going, all right, what do I want for 2024? Is my plan, are my drugs on plan? Is my doctor going to be in plan? And so, you saw what happened with the, our little hiccup we had in the area with Mercy Health and Anthem. So that had people scrambling. Am I going to lose my doctor? Am I going to lose my hospital? Thank goodness it all worked out. But that's what people need to look at for 2024. That's why this open enrollment time or annual enrollment time is a big deal. Go through your plans. And I kind of feel bad for the people I like my plan, I'm not worried about it. Yes, but you need to look at it. It's, are there changes? Are you paying a little bit more? Because everything costs more. So these people that are just kind of rolling with the flow and going, all right, I rolled from 23 to 24 in my Advantage plan. They're the ones that are going, I didn't know it was going to cost me X number of more dollars to go see my doctor. It's not a $20 copay. It's now 25. Why'd that happen? So those are things you really need to look at and kind of understand the different breakdowns of the Medicare plans, the Part A, B, C, and then finally is the Part D. That's the drug plan. If you're on original Medicare, that's its own little separate entity. And so for your prescription drugs, if you're taking, something, a heart medication or a blood thinner, things along that lines, that you're going to want to have a plan to cover those things as well.
If you're just joining us, we're talking to Jerry from Gem Young. We're talking about Medicare. And so when you do this annual deal, so if you do nothing, you're just rolled into whatever you had the previous year. But if you look during the enrollment period, you can shop some of the benefits that may have changed from the previous year. I'm assuming some years are better than others where benefits get better. Sometimes you shop it and say, nope, I'm good where I'm at.
Sure. Because there's all different companies out there. One of the companies I represent is Medical Mutual. And, they revised their plan for 2024, and it's really impressive. There's a lot of good things in there. And whether it's a little bit less on the copays or a little more benefit added towards your vision or your hearing aids. That's another thing with some of these Advantage plans, they'll help cover costs for hearing aids. So you may be missing out on that. And so, and then just back to like the Anthems or the, Humanas, they all have their new plans. They're all rolling it out for 2024. So this time of year is when you can kind of take a look. You don't have to stay with your Anthem or your Humana. Take a look at some of the other plans that are out there. Maybe it'll be a better fit. And there's a lot of them out there. And you might just find something, hey, I'm going to go from this one to this one. They all try to stay in line. So, it's just like anything, one insuring company is not going to have premiums that are through the roof. They won't get any business. So they try to keep their plans in line, but they all make their little tweaks and changes. So, hey, come to our plan because we have X and our competitor doesn't.
So when you're shopping this, is it something like you pull out a binder and lay out all this paperwork? What if you don't know what you're looking at? What if you don't know what's changing, can't read and look into that language and know what they're talking about?
It can be confusing once again. And that's why we always say, talk to an advisor. That's what we're here for. This is stuff that we study. We have certifications we have to pass every year. And it's detailed stuff. And so, the person that's, I worked in the mill for the last 40 years, and now you throw out all this information in front of them, and it could be like, this isn't a blueprint. I don't know, what this is. So that's where we kind of step in, because this is stuff that we look at on a daily basis, even in the off season. I mean, people are always turning 65. I think that's the big thing, that your first entrance into it. Nobody thinks about it until they need it. And so if they're turning 65 next month, you had your open enrollment period. Or your initial enrollment period is going on right now. They're like, oh, I didn't realize. Yeah, you've got 3 months before your birth month, and then 3 months after. So these little things that are just kind of help out, that they don't realize. It's like, oh, I'm 65 now, I have to look into Medicare. Oh, you could have been looking into it for the last 3 months.
All right. So if the process is like, we give your office a call, you guys set up an appointment, you guys sit down and explain through what you have and what the new benefits are. So take us through that a little bit.
So initially, what we do is, if you called in, if you're interested, we would do what's called a scope of appointment. That means, hey, we're going to sit down, we're going to talk about some Medicare Advantage plans. We're going to talk about, if it's your initial enrollment, we'll talk about supplement plans, what the right fit is for you. And it is to individuals, so somebody, that wants to travel a lot, maybe the Advantage plan isn't the best plan for them, because, the Advantage plans, whether it's an HMO or a PPO, you're kind of stuck in that network. And again, going back to what happened with Mercy Health recently, that's where these people were panicking. They had their HMOs, it was Mercy Health, their doctors were Mercy Health, and they're going, I can't go to my doctor, I'm going to pay out of pocket. So for people that like to travel a lot, maybe that's not the best fit to have an HMO locked into our area. You may want a PPO where you can go outside of network a little bit, or you may want a supplement where it's any doctor that will accept Medicare. Then you can say, all right, I can go into this guy. Here's my copay. I have a supplement that works with that. So what we do is kind of go over that first. What's your lifestyle? What do you do in your if it is your retirement? Are you still working? Do you have credible coverage? Is your spouse still working? Are they, is their coverage going to help out? What are your drug plans like? What kind of drugs, medications are you on? Are you, a lot of medications, going to the doctor all the time, or don't go often? I'm not on anything. I take an aspirin if I have a headache. So it really is like getting to know, that individual and placing them in the right plan that works for them. And, even though spouses are very similar, sometimes the plans aren't right for, it's this one plan doesn't fit both of them. We're going to put him over here and her over here. So, it really is best advice to talk to somebody. And, again, the commercials do a good job, because it makes everybody aware this is going on. But, just calling in when that commercial says X, don't call in, because there's a lot more detail to it.
Right. And if you're just joining us, we're talking with Jerry from Gem Young. We're talking about Medicare. So if you have any questions you want to ask Jerry, you can give us our phone lines a call, 330-729-9977. Now, in this next enrollment year, is there any notable benefit changes from the previous year?
Well, some of the big things that are going on, the Part B deductible has gone up a little bit, but it's nice. It's not a huge amount. So that's a change. The other big change was with insulin. So it's been capped out at $35. So that's nice for people that need that, require that. It's not these huge sums that they had to pay before. The maximum out of pocket for that is going to be $35. And there's a few other things that, once again, if you're not sitting down and going through and just rolling with your plan, that you may not be aware of, that like, hey, let's sit down and talk. Is this a benefit to you? So yeah, there's a lot of different changes, and it happens every year. And every year, et cetera, for Medicare services tries to make it better. They get their feedback. Most people get their book, their little Medicare book every year. And if you're like the people in my family, they ask me, what do I do with this? Well, you're supposed to read it, but it gets set to the side. Okay, I flip through it, and it's not huge. But it's 140 pages. So most people don't want to read that boring material, and you might be missing out on something. So that's what we do. We read the book and then explain it to our clients.
Yeah, that's sort of, I fall victim to that all the time, where I just don't have the time to pay attention to the changes. And I figured last year it will be it's probably just as good. And then after the fact, I found out there was something I didn't take advantage of, and then you have, regret. But that insulin change, that's pretty significant. There were people that were paying hundreds of dollars per month in that medication. So that probably took a big chunk out of their allotment.
Oh, sure. And then you have what's called, they've removed the donut hole phrase, but people that are on a lot of medications, they're getting their copays till they get to the point, and then they're in what's called a donut hole. Well, that's out of pocket, and they're panicked. They've spent so much and they've reached their threshold, and they have to get into catastrophic for the government or their plan to pick up and start helping with that. So once again, that's looking at the different plans and options. Just what's my drug plan maximum for this plan versus this one over here. So there's a lot of variables that go into this, and it's not a one size fits all. So the person's on a lot of medications, maybe they don't need that extensive drug plan, the Part D, or whether it's an Advantage plan. Maybe they want to go with a simpler one. Are your medications some of the really expensive ones? Well, there's a plan that's going to fit for you because it can't, includes some of those very expensive medications. So, that's the big thing. Is your stuff on formulary, and is it going to help you out with the current plan? But my best advice is don't just roll with the flow and say, I've been with this company for the last 15 years, and I'm going to keep going with them because they never steered me wrong. Well, yeah, that's good, but take a look and at least sit down with your advisor and say, how's this plan?
All right, we're going to take a break here. We're going to talk with Jerry for a couple more minutes on the other side. If you have a question, you can text us at 333-1570, and you can give us a call, 330-729-9977. You're listening to The Dan Rivers Show on 570 WKBN. We'll be right back.
I'm Dr. Cheryl Figliano from Centers for Hearing Care. If you or a loved one has difficulty hearing, you need to know the ear is the road to the heart. When we lose our hearing, we lose touch with family and friends. Don't put off getting help. Our doctors of audiology have a culture of caring and white glove treatment. We've been solving our community's hearing issues for over 34 years. For the best doctors of audiology, the right equipment, and great results, call our Boardman office, 330-726-3339.
Do you have an idea for an invention or new product and don't know what to do next? Inventors, InventHelp can help you get started with your idea. Call 1-800-INVENTION or go to inventhelp.com to get your free inventor's information. They can help you try to patent your idea and submit it to companies. Get started with your idea today at inventhelp.com. InventHelp is the leading invention service company. With offices nationwide, they've been helping inventors since 1984. Inventors receive more than 10,000 patents through their patent referral services. Don't wait to get started with your idea. For free information, contact your friends at InventHelp. Go to inventhelp.com or call 1-800-INVENTION. That's inventhelp.com or call 1-800-INVENTION. They help everyday inventors just like you. Additional services include invention websites, prototype models, technical drawings, and more. They keep your idea confidential and explain every step of their invention services. Remember, that's inventhelp.com. inventhelp.com.
Well, my friends, I'm happy to announce that Tri-State Neuropathy Center is hosting a new free peripheral neuropathy seminar Monday, October 30th at 10 o'clock. They do these over at the Holiday Inn in Boardman. Dr. Jared Yevans will be there, Dr. Sean Ritchie, and they have been very successful in treating people with neuropathy, I should say, and almost a 90% satisfaction. That's what they do. These treatments can help you get your life back, friends. Tri-State Neuropathy, free seminar. Register in advance. You have to do that. Seating is limited. Register today to secure your spot. 330-953-3339. 330-953-3339. Learn more at marydancedin.com. That's their website. All the information is there. But get to this seminar. It's at the Holiday Inn in Boardman. It'll be at 10 o'clock. And you need to register 330-953-3339 or go to marydancedin.com. You'll be glad you did.
iHeartRadio wants to send you to see the sold-out Sick New World Festival on April 27th in Las Vegas, VIP style. System of a Down, Slipknot, Alice in Chains, and many more. We'll take care of everything. Just open the free iHeartRadio app and listen to Rock Nation Radio, and you'll be automatically entered.
Well, my dear friends, the future is here. Pain relief is here. It's called QC Kinetics. If you've been told more steroids, more surgery, those are your only options. No, they're not. Get a second opinion. Learn about how you can harness your body's own healing agents to attack the joint pain. I'm talking about lasting relief. QC Kinetics doesn't mask the pain. These treatments go to the very root of the problem. You got to call and find out for yourself. Imagine living your life this year with no more pain in your knees, your hips, your shoulders. You're back in the game. No drugs, no downtime, no surgery. You got to make the call. They're in Howland. QC Kinetics, 234-201-9299. 234-201-9299. Not to be repetitive, but 234-201-9299. And then you can get back in the game.
All right, welcome back. This is the Storm Team 27 forecast. High of 72 degrees today, 70 tomorrow. Almost no chance of rain, so it should be good. It is 58 degrees here in good old Youngstown, Ohio. Back with Jerry from Gem Young. We got a couple phone calls, so let's go right into those now. First, we got Donald. Donald, you're on the Dan Rivers Show with Jerry from Gem Young.
Oh, good morning, gentlemen.
Morning.
I do have a question. I listened to your initial explanation, and I didn't hear anything about secondary insurance relative to Medicare. Are you familiar with that?
Are you talking about the supplement insurance? The Medigap coverage?
It's not a supplement. It's called a secondary. There's no co-pays and other charges because the secondary covers all those things. It's a pass-through from Medicare to another insurance company to pay the difference in the 20%.
Is that something that was done? Have you been on Medicare for a long time?
Yes.
Yeah, it may have been a plan that's not an option, and it's something because there was like the plan Fs and you know these you had to be on Medicare before 2020. Those are plans that aren't available anymore. I'm not real familiar with the secondary. I'd have to look into it. So no, I apologize. I'm not familiar with that.
Okay, well, I understand it's a little different. It's through my former employer, and it's the same insurance you have while you're employed. And then when you go into retirement, you can elect to keep that as a secondary. And it's an automatic pass-through from Medicare. They pay their 80% of what they allow, so forth.
So
And
you're
then
basically you're keeping
secondary
coverage
picks
from
up
your
everything
employer.
else. So I understand it's a little different. Not too many people would have it. Depends on who they.
Don, that's what I was asking. It's like this is still coverage through your employer. Then is what you're saying.
Yeah, but it's called a secondary, not a supplement.
Okay.
And it does pick up everything that Medicare doesn't pay, the 20%, that they don't pay on A or B.
So rather than
Okay.
having a supplement, you're going to use that.
All right, Donald, thank you so much. Appreciate it. And we got another 1 minute, so we'll go to another Don. Don, you're on with Jerry from Gem Young.
You sound religious. I trust you. Hey, did you consummate your marriage or did you?
All right, that was not all right. All right, so why don't you give everybody the phone numbers and where to get a hold of you guys?
All right, guys. So Gem Young, we're located in Canfield. Our number is 330-533-7941. We've got a few people there that are very versed in Medicare Advantage supplements. We'll do anything we can to help out in that way. And like I said, I'm a firm believer in if I don't know the answer, I will find the answer. And so, just reach out. But my best advice to anybody is, contact an advisor, whether you have one. If you don't, give us a call or find one. But they'll help get you through this. This is a complicated thing, and you want what's best for you, for your family. So I would recommend contacting somebody. Don't just go by, hey, that sounded good on TV or on the radio, and I'm going to buy that one.
Beautiful. Thanks, Jerry. Appreciate it. All right,
you
we're
for
going to
your
take a break. We'll come back. This is the Dan Rivers Show on 570 WKBN.
iHeartRadio.
Well, hi again, Dan Rivers, and I have the Gordon Brothers water system in my home, and I am so happy that I do. I'll tell you what, your hair feels so much better. You get out of the shower, you just feel cleaner. There are so many benefits to having the system in your home that you can even order all your supplies from them. They'll come to your home for free to test your water and let you know what you're really drinking. And isn't that important? They are at 800-331-7611, 800-331-7611, or gordonbroswater.com.
Elect Bruce Shepis, Austintown trustee. As co-owner of Austintown Balance, I've been running a successful business for over 17 years. I have over 7 years of experience on the Zoning Board of Appeals and Commission, helping new business develop in our township. I'm recently retired from federal law enforcement, so I can focus on being an effective trustee. I invested in this community as a family man, business owner, and public servant. Endorsed by Fraternal Order of Police Lodge 193. Vote Bruce Shepis, Austintown trustee, for all the right reasons.
Paid for by the committee to elect Bruce Shepis.
Now, your chance to win $1,000. Enter this nationwide keyword on our website. Win. That's win. Enter it now at 570WKBN.com.
I think it's time.
It's time. Time to stay informed. The time to act. Stay connected. The clock. Check in 3, 4. The clock is ticking 5 times.
Time is now up.
A day on 570 WKBN. 570 WKBN.
The White House urging restraint in Israel's bombardment of Gaza. The Biden administration saying that getting the hostages home should be the main priority in the region right now. On Monday, 2 elderly women who had been held hostage were released. The daughter of one of them says her mother was treated well, relatively.
We are heartened to hear that they're well looked after. We do not know that that is everyone because there's many that my mom did not meet.
In Tel Aviv, ABC chief foreign correspondent Ian Panel has more.
We're actually at a fixed vigil for the families, for the more than 200 men, women and children who were kidnapped by Hamas and Islamic Jihad on the morning of October 7th. They're handing out these simple yellow ribbons, they're handing out posters to put pressure on the Israeli government, not just to bring them home, but to prioritize their loved ones.
The Hamas-run Palestinian Health Ministry says at least 5,700 Palestinians have been killed in the fighting so far. With continuing coverage, Israel-Hamas war, I'm Sherry Preston, ABC News.
Our next update at 11. Free never sounded so good. The free iHeartRadio app in the App Store or online. 570 WKBN.
Weather brought to you by Mazda Heating and Cooling and Bryant, keeping you comfortable year-round.
Starting out the morning with clear conditions, and then today will be much improved. Mostly sunny skies, high temperatures in the low 70s, south wind at 5 to 10 miles per hour. Then tonight, increasing clouds, lows only in the low 50s. For tomorrow, mostly cloudy skies, a slight chance of a shower, highs still mild, around 70 degrees. From the Storm Team 27 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Adam Clayton.
Temperature 59.
Now you can relive the greatest moments from our 2023 iHeartRadio Music Festival.
Streaming only on Hulu.
Lenny Kravitz kicks things off with his biggest hits.
Foo Fighters get the whole crowd singing along.
Tim McGraw debuts his new song live.
Public Enemy brings the 90s hip-hop energy.
Fall Out Boy covers a classic while literally on fire. And so much more.
Relive the greatest moments from our iHeartRadio Music Festival.
Streaming now only on Hulu for a limited time.
Good Tuesday, friends. Nice to have you along here this morning. You know, most Baird Brothers products are created right here in our backyard. That's right. 7060 Crory Road in Canfield, which makes it very easy for you to get to. Now, they have a large imprint across the entire nation, but that means that you've got access right here in your valley. That means speed of getting something that you want right now. And you've heard me speaking about Baird for some time now. It's because their name is so well known across the country, and we have them right here in our own backyard. Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods is the only place to go if you're thinking about remodeling your home, putting in hardwood flooring, any of the kinds of things that make a house a home. And that live sawn white oak is very popular right now, so consider that. Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods, 7060 Crory Road, Canfield, or simply go to bairdbrothers.com.
It's obvious the unthinkable is happening. With all the recent media distractions, most folks never saw it coming. But a few did. Their guts told them something very wrong was going on. And now the headlines are proving them right. The people in charge keep telling you that everything's fine and to stop noticing, but you know better. Folks are investing in emergency food storage, and you should too. My Patriot Supply, the nation's largest emergency preparedness company, are the ones you can trust. Go to mypatriotsupply.com and secure their best-selling 3-month emergency food kits. Each contains tasty breakfasts, lunches, and dinners, averaging over 2,000 calories per day. Get at least one for each family member. My Patriot Supply also sells biomass stoves, off-grid room heaters for when the power goes out, gravity-powered water filters, heirloom seeds, and survival gear that may come in handy soon. Go to mypatriotsupply.com today. It's time to prepare for what's coming. mypatriotsupply.com.
All right, welcome back, everybody. This is the Dan Rivers Show. I am Joe Danyi, filling in for Dan for the rest of today, and then we get back to regular programming tomorrow. So those of you who've bottled it up and need to let it out, you can wait till tomorrow and get back to your normally scheduled programming. It was great having Jerry from Jum Young in here. It's what I liked about this radio station is how many experts lend sort of their intelligence into the conversation here. I knew nothing about Medicare going into today's show, and now I got the crash course from someone who is an expert and does this professionally, and it's kind of nice that they share that with all of us. It makes all of us a little bit smarter. So reward people willing to do that with your business. Make sure you spend as much local as you can and support those experts right back. So 330-729-9977 is the phone number. I got a ton of text messages to get through, but Greg has been hanging on the line for a little bit now. So let's go to Greg. Greg, you're on the Dan Rivers Show. How can I help you?
Hello. Yes. Good morning. Thank you for taking my call.
Sure.
I would like to go ahead and start with some world global news here. We got a pretty big situation building up in the, over the Mediterranean. We got, China sending 6 warships over. We got THAAD response system over there. We've got 2 of our own aircraft carriers with strike teams. It looks like we got a massive power grab getting ready to happen over in the Middle East. And that's really scary because it's got our forces here for the U.S. It's got our forces spread pretty thin right now. With that going on, we have our southern border cracked wide open. Nothing's really happening down there to stop the flow. I mean, we had 168 known Iranian terrorists that were caught coming across our southern border. God knows how many other more are. Jihad is continuously calling for, the rise. All right. We got some serious problems going on in the world, and we got Biden at the helm. That's not, I'm not very confident in that. Okay. First, we're 100% behind Israel. For everything that they're doing. We get protests going on to support Palestine. Now we got the administration, asking Israel to back off on their strikes. I mean, we're ping-ponging back and forth here. There's no true direction. I know this, between 2016 and 2020, we didn't have an invasion in not one country. So, do we see what the problem is? Do you see what, our Dominion voting system has gotten us? It's pretty scary. I'm a little bit of afraid. I'm only 38 years old. We got the rules changing for draft. They're reinstituting that here. They're talking about reinstituting possible draft. What's really going on? I mean, why do you need a, THAAD response system over there? I mean, there's only one reason why you need that, okay? And we didn't deploy that until China announced that they had 6 warships heading to the Mediterranean. So it makes you really wonder what is going on. And, I would just like your thoughts on that if I could.
Yep,
Thank
Greg,
you for your time. I appreciate you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Greg. Appreciate you hanging on there and contributing to the program. All of us observers watching everything ratchet up, and we have hopes that there are, clear heads that will not let this escalate into something that gets to that point. A lot of posturing, lots of preparation, these aggressive stances, and checkmates that are happening. We're hoping that there's not going to be a catalyst that makes all of that stuff, instead of a defensive posture to trying to stop that from happening, to make it a responsive thing. Like the terrorists in that region know how to play this game and how to catalyze. Like we saw that bombing of a hospital that was a staged event that was meant to enrage all of these people that had a close eye on it, hoping to catalyze to get other people into the war. They would want nothing more than to have this thing get beyond the Israel versus Hamas. And if this just plays out, Hamas hit Israel, Israel then wipes out Hamas. If we end there, then that's it. We don't have to escalate and take this further. If Hamas plays their cards the way that I think they will, they're going to do everything in their power to make this get bigger than it is right now. And I don't know that there's a diffusing force that's there, other than, I hope to God there is a ton of smarter people than us of the observers. That's why I hold my breath and just think people pay attention to this every day. It is their profession. Hopefully there's a bunch of people that are very good at this, that are in the positions of making decisions. That's my overall hope. Again, just like you, I'm just an observer, just hoping that cooler heads prevail. 330-729-9977. Let's go to Tom next. Tom, you're on the Dan Rivers Show. How can I help you?
How do you get your rocks off, you hog?
All right, back. Let's go to George. George, you're on the Dan Rivers Show. How can I help you?
Yeah, did he say there were 6 warships from China headed for the Mediterranean?
Yeah, that's what I read yesterday, is that they sent a battle fleet towards the area.
Wow. What was the famous Navy admiral? I forget his name. He said an aircraft carrier has very little survivability in a major conflict. Maybe 15 minutes. Wow. And those warships, you better believe they have a surface-to-surface capability, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, for sure. And so to have so many militaries just poised in the middle, there, somebody's going to bait action out of those that are just sitting out there in the water.
Wow. Well, what you were talking about that interested me, you were saying, how can we get more good people in office,
Yes. Yep.
And for school boards, why not have a competitive test to get on a school board? I mean, do you think that would be possible?
Yeah, I don't know much about it. Never run for a school board. You're saying that to run for a school board, you just put your hat in the ring. There isn't any kind of qualifications?
No, not a lot. You get to, a couple 100 signatures, and there aren't any really further qualifications you got to have, I don't think. But if you had a competitive test, that would make it interesting, don't you think? To get on there. Yeah. And then as far as the school systems themselves, the way they hire people, one school superintendent who was retired said, he was telling me, I think it should be more like civil service. Like they have to hire teachers. And the way it is now, the teacher who doesn't know anybody is at a real disadvantage. I don't know if you're aware of that.
Yeah, so I've heard over my life that the intro into politics and the most important elections are through school boards, and I don't quite understand the connection between why it's such a pivotal entry point and why it matters so much of the scheme of all of the other positions.
Oh, no question about it. Because I've known so many people who wanted to be a teacher and they got a degree, but they didn't know anybody. They had, but if you had more like civil service, then everybody would have a chance. Yeah.
All right, George, thank you so much for being out there. Appreciate you calling the program today. 330-729-9977. You can text at 333-1570. We can get back to all the topics that we brought up for this morning. If you're joining us, we were talking a little bit about taxation, a couple mentions of what's going on in the Middle East. So if you have some opinions, you can bring them there. This texter says, you are objective, ? Explain how people can support a candidate for president who found guilty of civilly of sexual assault and charged with crimes against the United States. Yes, I am very objective, and I would love nothing more than to have a moral standard for anybody that's serving in government. But I've watched as the moral fabric, the moral standards and what we expect from those leaders get pared back, and so to the point where I don't think there are any moral standards that anybody can agree on. And so my contention is that most of the people that you elect today are more horns than halo. And so it gets really hard to pick one person out and make them the villain, when I probably think they're a villain amongst villains. And so that's why that's why it's hard for me to say that guy's an idiot, because it's easier just to put the whole net out and say they're probably all idiots out there. And if somebody's got the idea that they can figure out how to push morality and ethics and good people out there, I'm all for it. But I don't feel like that's the real motive there. 330-729-9977. This texter says, blow it up and start over. That's the assertion of the petulant mind, not well-reasoned, thoughtful mind. It's just a practical way of reforming something. You have two options. You either repair it, right? Or you replace it. And sometimes you look at a house that you want to buy, and you're looking at the structure and make sure that, it's not ravaged by termites and the foundation's good. And you're trying to justify whether or not the expense of energy to fix it, right, is greater than the cost and energy to replace it. And there's going to be some that need to be blown up. So I'm not across the board, take every agency. I'm looking at every agency like, is there enough structure in this that's practical, or is this a shakedown mechanism to just extract money from the people and help those in control and in the power to become very wealthy? So if you were just to take sort of like the effect of being a politician, do people go into politics and become poor because of the sacrifices they make and how much of their own treasure they put into it? Or do they get in there and they become extremely wealthy? So if I were to just take the effects and just judge the people in there, whether or not they are being, furthered in their prosperity because of a sacrificial position, I'm going to say there's some corruption going on there. And the method, right, the reason or the motive for being there is probably to make a bunch of money on the backs of the theater. And there we go. So 330-729-9977. Doug says there is a need for some types of regulations, but the problem is government gets carried away. It gets carried away with it. An example is banning dumping raw sewage in the rivers as a law, going nuts trying to ban all types of CO2 emissions that they claim are killing the planet is overreach. And I totally agree with you. And I like when two forces oscillate back and forth. And I think those oscillating deals, like you're supposed to have loss and gain, right? You're supposed to have speech and counter speech. And it's not a binary thing where you don't have one, political position as being the noble one and one is not the noble one. It's these, conflicts that make, good policy and good government happen. So you want to say, okay, well, that if you make a regulation, it's going to be exploited, right? And so I said yesterday, let's make every regulation and every policy and every program outside of the core purpose of government sunset, make it disappear so that these corrupt politicians can't put these super awesome deals for themselves and their friends. They dissolve. And if they were a good idea, right, then they can reintroduce them and put them back into play. But at least if they got to sneak it in, let's just say there was Democrat-controlled Congress or Republican-controlled Congress, and they snuck in some bad policy in there, right, then it evaporates at a certain point, and then they have to start over and renew. And that way we don't get this corruption that stays in there forever. I totally agree that the longer something exists, like you can have the most noble gesture, like me setting up a, we do the pay it forward boxes, right? You take something good and you set it up and do the good. And the longer it exists, the more likely it is to get exploited. So then it goes away. And then when it's new again, the people who come to it first are the people who need it the most. And the longer it exists, then you have a whole cycle of people who are just using it as an additional tool and not how it was intended to do. And as soon as you know that that's the math behind how every program's going to behave, you got to skew the deal. So we're going to set up a regulation, right? The first set of regulation is going to be the noble part, which is we're going to protect the environment. Eventually, someone's going to use a regulation to penalize one of their enemies. Well, that's not why the regulation was put there. So if we get angry with Elon Musk, right, we're going to not issue him an FAA permit to hurt him, or we're going to audit them through the IRS, or we're going to stop something we don't want being built and using regulations as the weapon. And that's the part, the longer something exists, the more likely that happens. But if you said, hey, this is the purpose for this regulation, and anything outside of it, like, let's just cut it out and leave the real important version of it. Like, I don't want people dumping stuff in the water. That's the regulation. If you're dumping it in the water, that's, against the rules. So 330-729-9977. Getting through some of these text messages. Maybe you don't tax income at 2.75 if you want people to come back. You don't tax income at 2.75. Oh, okay, I got it. At 75%. Yeah, and we use this language all the time, your fair share. And as I talked to a caller earlier, and I said, well, what's the fair share? And everybody believes the people outside of themselves should pay more. But when, that weapon, that weapon is pointed right at you, you don't feel that way anymore. You feel like, hey, I want to get my house painted, and somebody walks up to your house and says, how much money do you make, and what kind of cars do you have, and what kind of your investments? And they're going to price you based on what you can afford. Everybody feels dirty in that moment. Like, no, just give me the price. Let's divide it. Everybody who walks in the amusement park pays the same amount of money, right? And you don't pick certain people and make it cost more, and vice versa. You make it the same across the board. And that's true fairness, where it's blind, where I'm going to charge you without knowing anything about you because that's fair. If we single people out, we're just using government as a weapon to go after people that are different than us. 330-729-9977. You're listening to The Dan Rivers Show on 570 WKBN. I'll be back.
Time of year for killer deals. You've had your eye on some hot new wheels. We want to pay off your loan or lease and tell your old car to rust in peace.
Salem Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Take advantage of Ram Power Days. Get up to 20% off almost every new Ram in stock and up to $13,000 off most Jeep Gladiators. Lease a new Jeep Renegade Latitude for just $299 per month. Ram Truck 2.9 APR for up to 72 months. Worried about your credit? Don't sweat it. Remember, when it comes to the value of your trade, Brian the Trade Man always gives you more. And we'll take any trade in any condition.
Salem CDJR Ram.
42-month lease on Renegade, $29.99 due at signing plus tax tag, $250 dealer fee, acquisition fee, and first month payment. No security deposit with lender approval. Gladiator offer excludes sport model. Discounts plus tax tag and dealer fee, $15.15 per month per thousand borrowed for 72 months at 2.9 APR with 0 down. Offers don't combine. Expires 11/1/2023.
I'm Dr. Cheryl Figliano with the Centers for Hearing Care. If you or someone you love is having difficulty hearing, it's time to make a change in the quality of life. Your journey with hearing begins at Centers for Hearing Care. Our doctors of audiology have the right equipment and the best results. We've been solving our community's hearing issues for over 34 years. Your journey to better hearing begins at Centers for Hearing Care. Call our Boardman office at 330-726-3339 and we'll get you scheduled in the office that's closest to you.
If you are seeking legal questions about anything from DUI to divorce and family law, listen to the longest running legal show in the Valley this Thursday at 5 p.m. with host Beatrice, Kopp, and Marcota. These expert lawyers can take calls live on the air. That's every Thursday starting at 5 p.m.
Help keep our community safe and healthy during National Prescription Drug Takeback Day, October 28th. Find a collection site near you at deatakeback.com. Do your part to lower overdose deaths and prevent drug misuse before it starts.
When your heat goes out in the middle of winter, you need a heating and furnace hero who responds quickly. Mighty Mike provides reliable, professional service and installations for both residential and commercial projects. 330-207-7070. Halloween is scary, but not as scary as no heat in the winter. Call Mighty Mike today, not tomorrow, for fall maintenance service. 330-207-7070 or visit MightyMikeHVAC.com.
Hi, I'm Basha Adamczak, your Youngstown 7th Ward Councilwoman.
And I'm Ray Bumbo Mancini, world champion, businessman, and 7th Ward native. Basha Adamczak has a proven track record. She's been a champion of the people of the 7th Ward and for all of Youngstown, Ohio. So on November 7th, knock out the competition and vote for my friend, Basha Adamczak, for 7th Ward Councilwoman.
Paid for by the committee to elect Basha Adamczak, Zenon Adamczak, Treasurer.
Identity theft shows no signs of slowing down. In fact, more than $29 billion were stolen last year alone. That's a criminal success story and a wake-up call for everyone else. It can be dangerously easy to steal your identity. LifeLock makes it easy to help protect yourself if you become a victim. A dedicated U.S.-based restoration specialist will work to fix it. Join now and save up to 25% your first year with my name, Clay, as your promo code at LifeLock.com, promo code Clay.
Hi, this is Scott Trout of Cordell & Cordell. There are a lot of great dads out there. Sometimes those dads get divorced. For more than 30 years, we've represented men in divorce, confronting the pitfalls that could devastate your finances or harm your family relationships. While every situation is different, our goal is to get the best outcome for you and your kids. Visit CordellCordell.com to take the first step.
Schedule an appointment with one of Cordell & Cordell's Cleveland area attorneys. 5005 Rockside Road, Suite 350, Independence, Ohio, 44131.
iHeart Podcast Update. This week on your free iHeartRadio app. The Ben Ferguson Podcast. Ben Ferguson brings you the commentary on the news that the biased media will not cover. The Tudor Dixon Podcast. Talk to the biggest names in politics and conservative media, and most importantly, we'll get you the truth about the issues that affect you, your family, and our American way of life. The Truth with Lisa Booth. Cut through the noise and get straight to the heart of what actually matters with the political and legislative impact of the hottest issues. Hear these podcasts and more on your free iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Got your Storm Team 27 forecast. We got a high of 72 today. No rain, 70 degrees tomorrow. And it is 47 degrees here in good old Youngstown, Ohio. All right, back to the program here. Larry from Facebook says, saying both sides are guilty is a false equivalence. Only one candidate is facing multiple felony charges, numerous civil charges, multiple convictions, and a demonstrated disregard for the security of our country. And it ain't Biden. Another example of what aboutism. And my point was that they are a group of people that if you said tomorrow that they handpicked one person out, put them through the microscope if they did anything wrong, and they had filed federal charges, multiple convictions, I would not be surprised. The whole lot of them is probably 80% would be guilty as crazy. 20% of them snuck in there and are halfway decent and don't break a law on the regular. Now, the what aboutism, again, it's uber specific. It's like I'm casting them all into the nobody's playing by the rules, or at least they don't feel the rules are applying to them. You're just saying, you caught one guy who we knew was an idiot going into it, did things that we knew about him before, that has federal charges against which no one is surprised that he's doing. And what's your ask? What's your argument? That guy, sure, he's probably not a good contender if you want to vote with your conscience. He's not a great element, but what about people who aren't voting with their conscience? They're like, hey, we're voting for mud monsters, so I'm going to vote for the guy to clock somebody in the mouth. Right. I know there's a sort of like a desire to find some contradiction to say, checkmate, but you're not going to get that, because that's not the game we're playing. There isn't anybody voting with their conscience. Everybody's making these concessions where we're voting for a bunch of terrible people who are carrying one or two little banners that we're proud of, and tons of banners that we're like, that guy, is that really who we want to put up there? So thank you for that comment, but it's not a whataboutism. It's not a whataboutism. 330-729-9977. Didn't quite go right. When politicians commit our money to these ill-conceived endeavors for political cronies and self-aggrandizement, it's not so trivial. Lordstown Assembly facility is now controlled by companies. That's my contention is that if the private sector, well, we'll take this break. We'll come back. We'll answer that question on the way back. You're listening to The Dan Rivers Show on 570 WKBN.
You know, as men, we like to put up that front that we're perfect, that our bodies are great. I'm in the late third quarter, early fourth quarter of my life. The reality is it's okay to say we're in pain, Youngstown, sometimes, and I seek some of my relief at QC Kinetics.
Maybe you haven't addressed the pain in your knees, hips, back, or shoulders. Afraid the solution will be surgery and missing work. Not the case with QC Kinetics. These are the nation's leaders in regenerative treatments, using your own natural healing properties to provide lasting relief. Right in the office, no downtime.
QC Kinetics in Youngstown. You're looking forward to no surgery, no pills. Give your body a chance to heal itself. And for people out there, I'm so happy I did.
Your QC Kinetics consultation is totally free. Nothing to lose but that awful pain. So call today. Located near Youngstown in Warren. 234-201-9299. That's 234-201-9299. Again, 234-201-9299.
The Valley's first since 1926. Your number one source for news, talk, information, and more. News Radio 570, WKBN, Youngstown. The time is 11 o'clock.
From ABC News, I'm Sherry Preston. The White House says it is pleased with the release of 2 elderly Israeli women taken hostage by Hamas on October 7th and held until last night. There are still more than 200 hostages in Hamas hands. One reason the U.S. is calling on Israel to ease up on its constant bombardment of Gaza. ABC Chief Global Affairs correspondent Martha Raddatz has more.
The administration wants the Israelis to slow this incursion down, not just for humanitarian reasons, but because the Pentagon wants to get capabilities in place to protect our bases in the region. We know they're sending that second carrier strike group and missile defenses to the region. And these military assets are not just defensive. There has been an uptick in Iranian proxy attacks on our troops, Hezbollah and the Houthis. And the administration is saying there are Iranian fingerprints all over them.
Republicans on Capitol Hill are whittling down the number of candidates available for Speaker. There are now 5 candidates left after 2 rounds of secret ballots. Another Georgia co-defendant of former President Donald Trump has pleaded guilty in Fulton County.
As tears streamed down her face, former Trump attorney Jenna Ellis expressed remorse in court.
If I knew then what I know now, I would have declined to represent Donald Trump in these post-election challenges.
Alongside Rudy Giuliani, she told Georgia lawmakers that thousands of ballots were wrongly counted, thousands of felons voting illegally, and thousands of minors registering to vote. She now admits those claims were false. Like others who've recently struck plea deals, Ellis will serve probation and community service, pay a fine, and write an apology letter. Stephen Portnoy, ABC News, Washington.
Former President Trump showing up for testimony today given by his former fixer Michael Cohen in his fraud trial. 5,000 UAW workers at a GM plant in Arlington, Texas, walking off the job as the strike against the big 3 automakers continues. The Dow is up 272 points. You're listening to ABC News.
Police in Youngstown are looking for a shooting suspect that left the person in the hospital. 42-year-old Benjamin White is accused of a Monday morning robbery involving 2 people in the 200 block of Gaither Avenue. The victim and a woman called police to report the crime. Police in East Palestine also say White faces charges there, accused of falsely taking advantage of a program offered to victims of the East Palestine train derailment. Investigators say White provided fictitious hotel receipts to Norfolk Southern, did not live in East Palestine, and used a fictitious address to receive over $16,000. 40-year-old David Hubbard has been indicted in a felony assault and strangulation case. The charges stem from an incident in Howland back in September on North Road, where a woman told police she was sleeping when Hubbard came in and screamed at her, then pulled her out of the bed by her hair and began hitting her multiple times. Hubbard pleaded not guilty to the charges last week. He's expected back in court in November. 116 deer have been killed so far after 3 weeks in the Mill Creek Metro Parks Deer Reduction Program on Mill Creek Metro Parks properties. That total includes 23 taken between October 15th and Saturday, and 30 claimed from the Metro Parks Golf Course on Route 224 at Boardman. The permitted hunting season for the Metro Parks Reduction Plan runs through the end of January. Residents in East Palestine and the surrounding areas, along with Senators J.D. Vance and Sherrod Brown and other federal lawmakers, have sent a letter to the Federal Environmental Protection Agency administrator regarding starting additional indoor air screening to ensure the homes are safe. The EPA has repeatedly said that all air quality data has shown no concerning levels of derailment-related chemicals in the air. The letter says if more extensive air sampling detects chemicals of concern, the EPA should direct Norfolk Southern to conduct necessary and immediate cleaning to remedy. And Rebecca Shaw has been sentenced to 8 to 12 years in prison after being convicted of aggravated arson. The charge stems from a house fire on 5th Street in Salem back in June of 2021. 3 people were inside at the time, but made it out safely. From the 570 WKBN newsroom, I'm Dave Price.
Our next update at 11:30. The talk of the town.
You know, they're literally taking the Constitution and putting it in a paper shredder.
570 WKBN.
Weather brought to you by Mazda Heating and Cooling and Bryant, keeping you comfortable year-round.
Mostly sunny skies, high temperatures in the low 70s, and then for tonight, increasing clouds, low temperatures right in the low 50s. For tomorrow, mostly cloudy, the slight chance of a shower as high temperatures rise to about 70 degrees. From the Storm Team 27 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Adam Clayton.
It is 63.
This report is sponsored by Boost Infinite.
Hey, if you're thinking of getting the latest iPhone, you need to stop and check out the wireless offer from Boost Infinite. For more, just pick up your phone and dial pound 250 and say Boost Infinite. That's pound 250 and Boost Infinite. You'll have the option to receive a one-time auto-dialed text message from this station's network.
All right, welcome back, everybody. This is the Dan Rivers program. I am Joe Danyi, sitting in for Dan for the rest of the program today. If you want to ask your questions or talk about anything, what's on your mind, 330-729-9977. I'm reading text messages. The text number is 330-333-1570. One of my favorite ways to contribute to the programs here at 570, because I could be out, not really able to be on the phone, but I could throw a couple of grenades into the messaging system and participate that way. I pretty much read all of them that come through here. And so if you want to get on the program or your thoughts get on the program, send them my way. 333-1570 is the text line. All right. So next it says another plea deal in Georgia. You better blow it all up in protection of Trump before it further undermines his big lie fairy tale. Truth and facts are going to get into the way of all these alternate facts. I don't know, like, if you feel like I'm a protector of Trump. I am a hater of all government. And so when I look at people challenging integrities, whether it be voter integrity, we need to look more at it. When people are challenging the integrity of the process, challenge it. If you look at somebody who broke the law, challenge it. I'm more into looking at more. This feels like, I know you get caught into theater of it being Trump and how eager people are to see this guy go to jail. My interest is casting a further net and see how many other people are breaking rules and laws, because I have a feeling that this is very, laser focused on an individual. I feel like government should process crimes and whatever blindly, right? Where the prosecutors don't even know who the people are that are coming through across the desk. They're just applying law so that they don't get blinders on, and a prosecutor that doesn't like somebody has the ability to use their position to go after it, because it's been, in other departments, IRS and whatnot, that have been able to target certain people to go after with the law. And you're looking around saying, but what about over there, right? And then we get into what that last texter said, or the last messenger said, where it turns into like nobody's following the rules. Very rarely does anybody. So like if it's, you're driving down the road, right? And you're driving amongst 50 cars and everybody's speeding, and the trooper like tags you. And the first thing that goes to your brain is like, why me? Like literally everybody around me was going faster. Why did you pick me? Like maybe you don't like Mustangs or electric cars, and you didn't like my car, so you pulled me over. And then you hold that animosity in your heart where you were targeted for a specific reason. And I'm on the other side of that, where I'm thinking like, okay, well, let's just bring the wrath of government against people who just basically double back on their integrity. They break laws. They don't follow their moral compass, and then wipe the stage of them. So when you say blow it all up, that's what I would see happening. Just, in the halls of Congress, making 200 arrests from everybody who has under the last 2 years worth of investigation, found that pretty much everybody's breaking the law. And that's a conspiracy theory that lives in my head. But I would not be surprised if somebody every day for the next year says, hey, this is what was going on. I just don't have faith in them. All right, let's see. Next text message says, how many local investors lost money in Lordstown Motors based on unwarranted hype testimonials, inside knowledge, and facilitated by grandsons? And I'm sure it's not this. I'm sure that Lordstown Motors isn't the only propped up company or corporation. I see it all the time on the internet side. Like here's the thing. When I do a lot of business in the on the web side of things, so I'm dealing with people in all different cultures, all different countries, and when nobody really, if there's no advantage to telling the truth and following the laws, then you have a majority of the people that are scheming and scamming or gray areaing, and it makes it extremely difficult to know who to trust. So you develop this side of your brain that is cynical about everyone until they've bought you beyond the point where you can extend a little bit of trust. So you don't trust first. Say, I reserve trusting for people that I can sit down in the same room with. If I can't sit down in the same room, then I'm cynical about you until I've known you long enough and I've seen you enough and I've evidence enough that I can extend some trust in there. And that's how I treat everyone. So I'm not surprised when stuff like this goes down. And especially, and I'm not saying that the Lordstown Motors was a scam or scheme. I think it was just a bad deal. I think it went down in flames. They weren't able to do what they wanted to do. I don't think they entered this trying to take advantage of anybody or making it go afoul. And because I don't have any evidence of that. Now, did some people lose? Yeah, I talk to people every day that had money in them and they lost that capital and they've given up, saying, okay, well, they're not just like me saying, oh, that didn't go as planned. They're angry about it. They lost some money buying into the hope that this was going to become something. But all the people that vouched for it or pushed for it, I am almost certain that none of them were part of a conspiracy of any kind. They were as hopeful as anybody that it would pan out. So thank you. 330. Sounds like a great time for you. Blow it all up. Yes. Our system is not 15-year-old. Our system is not 15-year-old computer they can blow up and replace. You're right. It would be hard. And that's why I prefer attrition. I prefer like the moral head to take over and decides to be responsible for itself and go after itself and clean itself up. That would be awesome. But if you can't do that, there are going to be parts that you're just going to have to rip out like the cancer that it is. Joe, Sunday night at St. Charles, we had a presentation given to us by a team of experts headed by Judge DeSalvo that opened our eyes and taught us about human trafficking right here in Mahoning County. We learned a lot and are better prepared for what we need to be aware of in the process of reporting such things to the authorities. It was very helpful, informative questions, and gave us literature on the topic. So I want to thank Judge Renee DeSalvo, Attorney Morrow, and the police officers who care enough to make a difference. My personal observation concerned me about those being trafficked over our southern border. Biden invited the swarms of drug cartel footmen and coyotes who are trafficking in children and pushing these poor children into brutal sex businesses so horrific it's a nightmare. Those in the Democratic Party are culprits, and the trafficking is because they just don't care as long as the garner votes out of the people crossing the border. See, that's that human trafficking thing. I had a dream, and I think it was a short while after I saw that movie about child trafficking that came out a couple months ago. And I had a dream that I was caught in that net. And so I got to go through the mental rehearsals of what it would be like to be dominated by dominated by fear by somebody who is holding you against your will. And my subconscious got to process all of this. And it was one of the worst dreams that I've ever had. I could not imagine living out where somebody is abducted. I don't even want to fathom that there are people that are capable of that. Like, what kind of monster? And we use that thing like terrorists and monsters, and we put them in this classification and we refer to it. But I like to think of the individual that have to be so morally bankrupt that they could take another person and not feel what they've robbed from that person. And there are more and more on those people that are being created every day that cannot empathize, do not have a heart and soul. And that's why I say, like, if our fabric is missing and we can't even expect our leaders to have some kind of compass, moral compass, and to make it like, you ever have that moment where you're like, okay, as soon as the masses find out that this is going down, everybody's just going to go on the street because they're going to be so disturbed. And then you watch that thing happen and you look around for the reaction and people are like, maybe someone will do something about it. But there are certain instances where I would like us to have such a sensitivity to it that we drop everything and make sure that that is not a tolerated thing in our culture. But we've outsourced so much of our outrage to other people. We outsource our charity to other people and our outrage to other people, that we're sitting here and we are not responsible for anything. We're not willing to sacrifice anything. We have the expectations that somebody else is going to get to it, and we get to sit there and just complain about it and be outraged, but not actually make some movement towards making anything better. And I think we are so apathetic in that way that it's going to take some kind of call to action that's going to get a group of people. And I think it's going to happen in the religious sect, the Christians, the Jews, who have the best chance of coming together over a sort of like a spiritual or moral obligation to make those changes and to not tolerate it. Like, otherwise, who else is going to? As this message said, it's a real underground problem that's talking about hundreds of thousands of people who are taken and enslaved. And this is happening in our own country. And when you say that, you would expect, there would be tons of people that decide that that is so awful that it's worth some kind of response. But because we just push that outrage up to making someone else, responsible for it, we go out our day just hoping it just becomes a statistic, along with all of the other outrageous statistics that we tolerate. And that's a real problem. Let's see. How many local investors lost money? This Lordstown person is really fixated on this. I got your deal. You can stop sending this basically the same message. Joe, not sure if the guy in one of your texts was referring to Trump or Biden when he asked, how could you probably vote for someone like that? If it was referring to Trump and he abiding supporters, my God, people like that are part of the problem. It sounds like pretty much that if you took the magnifying glass over every one of those federal employees, politicians, whatever, that you can fashion some kind of weapon to take them down. And so let's do it, get it over with, and take them all down. Let's just make a raid amongst all. And the ones that you got something to stick, let's take them out and start with fresh people. The ones that you don't have anything on, let's stop talking about it. But this theater of how, the law is going to get them. I mean, I've heard that my entire life about how we got him this time, right? We got him. And do you ever see most of those special people go down because of some law? Like, some people will resign to jail because of this kind of stuff. But it's that, to us, think about if we did some of the things, what would happen to us? Like, if we were, would we be treated like Trump, allowed to leave prison and not serve any time? Or would you get shuttled through there and say, yeah, you know what? You're nobody special. You're going right, no bail. You're going right to the cell. One of those disturbing videos that I mentioned yesterday, where a judge was pulled over by a trooper, and you can look this up on YouTube, and the judge was so appalled that law enforcement would ever pull him over. Don't you know who I am? He said, and threatening the police officer, like, you're going to pay for this, buddy, for pulling me over and thinking that you're going to take the, speed that I was driving at and use that against me, a judge? How dare you? And the rest of us are thinking back, okay, well, this is probably how a lot of those people feel when, you can get out of a ticket and you use your position to not let the rules apply to you. It's hard for me to feel sorry for anyone when they feel like they're insulated and they're the special people. Don't rock the boat. I am a professional boat rocker, and all of the pros and cons that come out with rolling the grenade in and getting people to think a little bit differently. Now, sometimes it's for self-amusement. Sometimes I'm just saying some things like, I know somebody on social media really likes literature and reading. And so I say to them every once in a while, like, the movies are better than books, right? I did that. It's a funny thing to get them roused up and get a little anger pumping through their veins. I did it in good fun, and that's what makes social media a little bit fun. And sometimes it's, change your frame of reference, change your perspective on things. So it gets people to, maybe if you have a slight chance of being objective and thinking about something differently, maybe I'll throw an angle assignment at you so that you can see things a little bit different. And I do rock the boat. I think that's part of it. The status quo sucks. I think there's enough people that need to be in a different direction, and maybe a show like this where you have a chance of talking about things a little bit differently, where I'm teamless, right? I don't toe anybody's line. I could jump on any politician because I have no loyalty to any group. And that's a freedom that most of you don't have. Most of you have to go along with your party's, positions to be a good member, right? Go be a good member and go feel how somebody else feels. And, put your own opinions on the back burner because you got to further the cause for your party and your tribe. And I just don't subscribe to that. I get myself in trouble too, and there's definitely a downside. I've had in the social media realm. If you disagree with someone, people will get angry with you, and they look to hurt you, like really hurt you. This whole cancel culture and going after someone's livelihood, and I disagree with you, so I want to take your legs out. Right? I've had that applied to me. I've been doxxed. So you have a public persona. You have some people that sit in an audience. They get angry about something that you say. So they go out and look stuff up about you, like your home address or your phone number or things that you've done. And then they take your information and they put it out on the dark web, and they put it out on Twitter, and they put it out on Facebook. And what they hope is some trolls will crawl up through, and they'll use that information to injure you. Maybe they'll show up and they'll break your windows, or they'll call you incessantly 50 times a day. And they're not looking to do anything other than to hurt you. These are your fellow men, right, who are so soulless and so moralless that injuring you is kind of a fun game, right? All right, 330-729-9977. You can text me at 333-1570. Mike, I'll take your call when we get back from this break. You're listening to The Dan Rivers Show on 570 WKBN. I'll be back.
iHeartRadio.
Field has experienced financial advisors to assist you. Visit Stifel.com or call 330-744-4351.
Well, my friends, I'm happy to announce that Tri-State Neuropathy Center is hosting a new free peripheral neuropathy seminar Monday, October 30th at 10 o'clock. They do these over at the Holiday Inn in Boardman. Dr. Jared Yevans will be there, Dr. Sean Ritchie, and they have been very successful in treating people with neuropathy, I should say, and almost a 90% satisfaction. That's what they do. These treatments can help you get your life back, friends. Tri-State Neuropathy, free seminar. Register in advance. You have to do that. Seating is limited. Register today to secure your spot. 330-953-3339, 330-953-3339. Learn more at marydancedin.com. That's their website. All the information is there. But get to this seminar. It's at the Holiday Inn in Boardman. It'll be at 10 o'clock, and you need to register. 330-953-3339, or go to marydancedin.com. You'll be glad you did.
100 years ago, in 1921, the law offices of Johnson & Johnson opened our doors. 1 century later, we're still here, with our 4th generation proudly serving the legal needs of the Mahoning Valley. So if you're in need of solid legal counsel regarding business law, trusts, estate planning, or wills, call the law offices of Johnson & Johnson today at 533-1921. That's 533-1921. Johnson & Johnson, since 1921. Legal counsel for the times of your life.
Help keep our community safe and healthy during National Prescription Drug Takeback Day, October 28th. Find a collection site near you at deatakeback.com. Do your part to lower overdose deaths and prevent drug misuse before it starts.
Texting privacy policy and terms and conditions posted at textplan.us. Texting enrolls for recurring automated text marketing messages. Message and data rates may apply. Reply stop, opt out.
Binges, blackouts, regret, shame, trying and failing to drink less or quit. Hi, I'm Jonathan, founder of Or Health. I know how scary drinking too much can be because I struggled with alcohol misuse for most of my adult life. But I also know that it is possible to drink less or quit. And medication can help. Naltrexone is a safe, effective medication that makes it easier to cut back or quit drinking, so you don't have to rely on willpower alone. I started Or Health to make access to naltrexone convenient and private, to help people like me regain control over alcohol.
If you're ready to stop drinking or just drink less, text ADULT to 323232 to get a secure link to Or Health's private online assessment. Our licensed medical professionals will evaluate your assessment, and if medication is right for you, prescribe it online. We'll deliver your prescription right to your door. No doctor's office visits required. Text the word ADULT to 323232 to get started today. That's ADULT to 323232.
The iHeartRadio app and the NFL right in your pocket. The home of the NFL Podcast Network, covering all 32 NFL teams, plus all the expert advice to win your fantasy league. And, of course, live NFL games. Touchdown! Download the free iHeartRadio app today. Free never sounded so good.
In this week's Marketers Report, Chris Brandt, Chief Marketing Officer at Chipotle Mexican Grill, weighs in on the power of audio.
We've used audio to reinforce what we're showing on TV, what we're showing in other digital channels. When your priority is driving reach, boy, everybody seems to listen to the radio.
As the #1 audio company, iHeartMedia gives marketers access to the audiences, conversations, trusted influencers, insights, and data you need to grow. If you're a marketer, go to iHeartResults.com.
Dr. Cheryl Figliano here from Centers for Hearing Care. Have you finally decided to do something about your hearing loss, but don't know where to start? Centers for Hearing Care is here to help you. We have 6 offices here in the Mahoning Valley. We've been in business over 34 years. Call us today, 330-779-8096. 330-779-8096. That's 330-779-8096.
All right, I got your Storm Team 27 forecast. We got a high of 72 degrees today. Tomorrow, 70. Almost no chance of rain. It's 50, 65 degrees. All right, back to the program here. Let's go off and talk to Mike. Mike, you're on the Dan Rivers Show. How can I help you?
Good morning, Joe.
Hi.
Always a pleasure to have you on the show.
Thank you.
Just also wanted to say, politics in our government, they're corrupt. But I would love to see senators 6 years in office, which they are right now, term limit after 1 term, congressmen 6 years in office, term limited after just 1 term. And then when the Congress elect half of them one time, 3 years later, elect the other half. So there's always a staggered term. Same thing with the Senate. So nobody can truly build up a certain power base. And number 2, all the congressmen and the senators that have been in there forever, you got to look at, they had a special on TV a couple of weeks ago on the News Hour about how many ships are in mothball being rehabbed. Some of our big warships have been there for 8 to 10 years being overhauled. And even the people working there say these ships will probably never see the light of day again because by the time they get done rehabbing them, they're going to be antiquated. So, and yeah, there it is again. Those politicians in that area, they're keeping their voters happy by keeping their voters working. That's why our federal deficit's going up. We're spending money hand over fist for projects which we not should be spending that money on them, all for defense. But if they're antiquated, move on. Let's just quit making certain electorates happy, and let the taxpayers fund it. What are your thoughts?
So I've heard the whole term limits thing since I was a kid. And it seems like the entire political apparatus has a, sort of like a self-defense that when we say those words, it has a way of shaking out that idea that is universally accepted by voters as a really good idea. How is it that it has the ability to do that?
What do you mean? How is it that it doesn't happen? You mean?
Yeah, why doesn't it ever happen? 30 years of me hearing that and not a single real plan to make it happen.
Well, you got the people that once they get into office, oh no, you're going to take my cash cow. They don't want to give up that cash cow, and they'll spend the money on advertising and yard signs and TV and radio, and money buys the election cycle, plain and simple.
All right, Mike, thank you so much. Appreciate you being out there. It's almost like when you say things like Mike had said, that it challenges someone's really good deal. And it's like, how 9,000? I can't let you do that, Dave, because it has to protect its own integrity above all else. And that is the level of corruption when it has this automatic defense mechanism that will keep all of the stuff that would suss out that corruption. It protects it from that actually happening. And that's why I don't trust it. 330-729-9977. Take a break. We'll be back. This is the Dan Rivers Program.
Well, Dr. Jim made a house call. He was in talking about CBD, and we were talking about Alzheimer's disease. It can possibly help with that. They're researching that right now. Talk to Dr. Jim. You can make an appointment. He'd be glad to talk with you. His number is 330-707-1691, but I have something for you. Any of the products that he has at Sapphire Essentials, buy one, get two. So you buy one, you're walking out with three. 330-707-1691, SapphireEssentials.com.
Hi, this is Scott Trout of Cordell & Cordell. There are a lot of great dads out there. Sometimes those dads get divorced. For more than 30 years, we've represented men in divorce, confronting the pitfalls that could devastate your finances or harm your family relationships. While every situation is different, our goal is to get the best outcome for you and your kids. Visit CordellCordell.com to take the first step.
Schedule an appointment with one of Cordell & Cordell's Cleveland area attorneys. 5005 Rockside Road, Suite 350, Independence, Ohio, 44131.
Now, your chance to win $1,000. Enter this nationwide keyword on our website. Win. That's win. Enter it now at 570WKBN.com.
I think it's time.
It's time. Time to stay informed.
The time to act.
Stay connected.
The clock.
Check in 3, 4.
The clock is ticking.
5 times.
Time is now up.
A day on 570 WKBN. 570 WKBN.
More aid streaming into Gaza, but humanitarian groups say it's not enough. More than 6,000 have died since the Israel-Hamas war began. Hamas releasing 2 more hostages, and talks continue along with the hopes for the release of others being held in Gaza. 10 Americans are still unaccounted for, including John Polin and Rachel Goldberg's son Hirsch, the 23-year-old taken hostage at the music festival October 7th. ABC's Karen Travers says the parents are thankful for the support from the Biden administration and President Biden, who spoke to families.
John Polin on their emotional phone call with the president.
He stayed on the call with 12 families of hostages for 90 minutes. His aides tried to pull him off, and he would not get off. And he listened, and he cried, and he was empathetic, and he's been really supportive.
The Biden administration now working to avert a broader conflict in the region, urging restraint by Israel as forces stand by to move into Gaza at any time. With continuing coverage, Israel-Hamas war, Michelle Franz and ABC News.
Our next update at 12. Free never sounded so good.
I'm free.
The free iHeartRadio app in the App Store or online. 570 WKBN.
Weather brought to you by Mazza Heating and Cooling and Bryant, keeping you comfortable year-round.
Mostly sunny skies, high temperatures in the low 70s, and then for tonight, increasing clouds, low temperatures right in the low 50s. For tomorrow, mostly cloudy, the slight chance of a shower as high temperatures rise to about 70 degrees. From the Storm Team 27 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Adam Clayton.
Now looking at 65.
Now you can relive the greatest moments from our 2023 iHeartRadio Music Festival.
Streaming only on Hulu.
Lenny Kravitz kicks things off with his biggest hits.
Foo Fighters get the whole crowd singing along.
Tim McGraw debuts his new song live.
Public Enemy brings the 90s hip-hop energy.
Fall Out Boy covers a classic while literally on fire. And so much more.
Relive the greatest moments from our iHeartRadio Music Festival.
Streaming now only on Hulu for a limited time.
Just 30 seconds of your time on this Tuesday morning to talk about Gordon Brothers. You know, at Gordon Brothers, they understand the water challenges in the area, and they take time to learn about your particular water treatment needs. They came to my home. They showed me what we were drinking and what we could be drinking. GordonBrosWater.com. All the information is there. They've been around since 1945. Get the system that I have in my home, and I could not be happier. Get your free test. GordonBrosWater.com. They're right here in Salem.
It's obvious the unthinkable is happening. With all the recent media distractions, most folks never saw it coming. But a few did. Their guts told them something very wrong was going on. And now the headlines are proving them right. The people in charge keep telling you that everything's fine and to stop noticing, but you know better. Folks are investing in emergency food storage, and you should too. My Patriot Supply, the nation's largest emergency preparedness company, are the ones you can trust. Go to mypatriotsupply.com and secure their best-selling 3-month emergency food kits. Each contains tasty breakfasts, lunches, and dinners, averaging over 2,000 calories per day. Get at least one for each family member. My Patriot Supply also sells biomass stoves, off-grid room heaters for when the power goes out, gravity-powered water filters, heirloom seeds, and survival gear that may come in handy soon. Go to mypatriotsupply.com today. It's time to prepare for what's coming. mypatriotsupply.com.
All right, welcome back, everybody. This is the Dan Rivers Show. I am Joe Danyi. You have me here for the next half hour or so. So if you want to get your calls in, 330-729-9977, or you can text me at 333-1570. Texter says, Joe, you are editing comments on text. Editing, I would say I'm taking some liberties that there were some names that were mentioned in a couple of the texts, and being that they're not here to defend themselves, I look at that as sort of gossip, and I will skip the names. And if you want to hit those people on your own and ask them so they can respond, then that's one thing. But it's been my policy that if I don't care if the criticism is especially people that I know or from the local community, it's just in bad taste to be able to be something non-complimentary at somebody who isn't here to defend themselves, and it's just not good policy. So I apologize for removing those names from what I read, but I won't do it, especially if I can realize that you're having some kind of accusations against somebody. And again, it would be bad if they're not here to say the other side of the story. 330-729-9977. Let's go with Rich. Rich, you're on the Dan Rivers Show. How can I help you?
Hey, corruption runs deep. I got a couple points. Can
Sure.
I hit them?
Absolutely.
All right. Our leaders are not leaders. They are misleaders. They don't represent the people. We, the people, they represent the USA corporation. Most politicians start out as good people, but they get trapped in a deep, deep, dark web if they want reelected.
Yeah, and the machine will crush that spirit. Hey, you thought you can come around here and correct things? We'll show you how it really works.
Right. And my last point, it's a question.
Sure.
How do you kill 11 million people or 11 million voters?
How do you kill them?
Yes.
I don't know.
You lie to them.
Yeah. Interesting. All right. Thank you so much, Rich. Appreciate it. And that is, that is the reality. 330-729-9977. Let's go to Carmen. Carmen, you're on the Dan Rivers Show. How can I help you?
Well, can I give you a computer question?
Sure, why not? I'm cool with that.
I got an old laptop. The only time I use it is for games on disk. It's a Windows 10. The newer, some of the, you go to a dollar bin or something, you find old games. They won't work on Windows 10. I want to reconvert this laptop back to XP because I still have the disk. Do you just format the C drive?
Well, what would probably be easier is to do a virtualization. Install like a Hyper-V, which if it's a professional version of your operating system, then you can run sort of like a computer within a computer, and then load XP in that virtualization and run your games in that deal. Hyper-V is probably your best bet. You can watch some YouTube videos about setting that up on Windows 10, and it'll take you through that. Thank you for that call. Appreciate it. Let's do some more text messages. Let's see. Joe, could you be so invested in the Trump drain the swamp lie that you are wrongly convinced that it is the swamp treating Trump unfairly? I'm not the spokesperson for Trump. So a lot of what any criticisms that you would have on either politicians, most of the time I'm going to be there right there with you. It's your opinion and you can take shots. You can have a certain way of feeling. I just probably won't jump on the train, right? Do I think the drain the swamp thing? I think there is a swamp. I think there are powers that control and don't allow things to correct because it's a sweet deal. Think about it that you get to go somewhere, not have to do a whole lot, not be, accountable for anything that you do, and you have a whole mechanism that protects the public from knowing what it is that you're doing. That is a good deal, and it pays super well. So it's very likely that people are part of that swamp, and if you threaten it, the swamp's going to lash back. Now, can you drain it? No. And it's cool to say those things, but how are you going to do that? How are you going to unravel the apparatus without destroying the apparatus? Are you going to go after those one person and then 50 other people take their spot? I mean, I don't believe that we have a plan to drain the swamp. Sure, you can have this motivation and it's great for campaigns, but I don't believe in drain the swamp. If it could be done, it probably will be done. The government is just so corrupt that I don't think you reel it back in. Libertarians say you shrink it so that those corrupt people just don't have a lot of influence. If you can't shake them out and they're the part of the pollution, then you just take away what they can affect and reduce that deal. Maybe you let some of them flee if they can't sit up there and make big enough decisions to enrich themselves. Maybe they go somewhere else. And then when we do want to drain the swamp in the future, maybe it's even mathematically possible. So thank you for that. Has Trump been convicted of anything? And that is an important question. If, let's just say, the IRS goes after someone specifically, could the Department of Justice go after someone specifically? Could it be that it doesn't shake out with the prosecution, or it goes to Supreme Court? That's why I'm a kind of a wait and see kind of guy. If I feel like he goes through the process, it's a safe process, and he gets convicted, then he gets treated like the criminal that he would be. And that applies to everything. My guy and your guy, any guy. You break down the tribe where you just want justice, not just justice against the other team, justice for all. Oh, that sounded good. 330-729-9977. Let's see, Joe, maybe I text to see how you edit, to see who you're protected. Oh, you're on to me. You're on to me. I'm protecting them. I told you, if you drop a name, I'm going to skip the name until they're in the same room with me, so that then I could turn to them and say, did you? And then they can respond at me. I'm only editing the names out. So thank you for that. Doug from Wilmington says, impossible to get term limits or pay cuts or gold-plated benefits cut when the ones voting are the same ones that it's going to affect. Same with any prison time for being corrupt. Just resign. Is enough punishment being, I may be the next one caught. You're absolutely right. Now, where else in our society says the person that's going to keep you honest is you? Like, that is stupid. Like, it should be, this is our system. It should be so radioactive that if somebody ever went to the side where their integrity was impugned, that the world would care so much about it, or the United States would care so much about it, you'd never be elected anywhere. But you have a political class that survives their little slips in their integrity, and people vote for them. Now, if you set an example about if you break through the moral standard and then you are ostracized from the entire political landscape, then we have a beginning phase. But as long as we lay down cover fire, we got Larry on the messages here that he's being spokesperson by saying, yeah, Joe Biden's corrupt, but Donald Trump is corrupter. And the distinction is, I'm not taking a side of either one. If they're both corrupt, they're kind of just both corrupt. And it's binary for me. Either we're playing a game where we want moral leaders to be the minute that they have a double back, they make a mistake, they're gone, and put somebody who's not corrupt in there. Or we're going to give some people a pass. And then, since it seems like the game we're playing is that depending on who you are, you get a pass. It's like, okay, well, let's take that one off the table. They must all be, below that moral level and standard. So 330-729-9977. Let's go to Dawn next. Dawn, you're on the Dan Rivers Show. How can I help you?
Isn't that
All right. Thank you, Dawn. Appreciate it. More text messages. I'm so glad I'm home listening today. This has been a fabulous show. Thank you. And it is a breath of fresh air. Yes, we, cozied up to the border of politics. But you got somebody who breaks the narrative and takes maybe 1% of the public out there, people listening in this listenership, that I tempt you to say, you don't have to go along with that tribe. Come to that middle ground, which most of us are anyway. A majority of us are in that middle reasonable spot, that even though we get baited into taking a side when it comes to election day. Most of us don't live there. Most of us are just reasonable people who can call a spade a spade. We can be objective given the right data set, but some of us are easily manipulated. So when you have the narratives being laid down, if you listen to one show, you ever do that? You listen to one show and you could totally take their side, and then you take the counter argument. I think this happened most egregiously. Did you ever see that To Make a Murderer, right? You watched that Netflix documentary and you watched and you had all of the data and you're like, man, this dude is being railroaded. And then you watch the documentary on the other side about how he wasn't being railroaded. And you're thinking to yourself, how am I put in this position that depending on what data I'm letting in, I'm completely convinced that I'm right until I'm giving the countervailing where you back up a little bit and maybe you didn't have all the data. Maybe someone was manipulating you. Maybe somebody manipulated the data. And how you can exist on both sides of that argument, depending on what you're put in front of, that means that other people can totally control you, and usually through your emotions. I'm a logical guy. I throw out the logic, and I don't go into emotional town unless I absolutely have to. Some of you out there are completely managed by emotional zone, which it explains a lot because I can manipulate through emotions all day. It's hard to manipulate through data. Joe, for those who are voting yes on issue 1, they have no clue they are taking the life of a human being, no matter at what stage it is, and this will be enshrined forever. It will be forever, and you will never have a chance to change how you voted when you finally wake up and realize you are killing a human being. Thank you for that text message. I appreciate it. 330-729-9977. You can also text 333-157. I'll continue to read those messages. Our fun playtime's almost over here. We only got about 15 more minutes. So if you want to get those last comments or questions in, have at it. Over on Facebook, it says, Dick says, great job, Joe. Great show. Love you. You're the man. Thank you. That's very complimentary. And again, it's nice to be able to have the different thing every once in a while. But I have a lot of appreciation for the hosts on the station that do this day in and day out, trying to keep things fresh, trying to take new perspective, trying to make it interesting for the listening audience. And I was that listening audience for a lot of years. I started out with Dan Ryan, and I had, at the next, before Dan Ryan, I was listening to Ron Verb for the longest time. I love these guys because it kept me thinking. They kept me yelling at the radio as I wanted to have my point or my opinion be known. And then whenever you can sort of like push on yourself a little bit or have somebody threaten some of your ideals or something that you feel, it's like being alive because, especially if you're open to being wrong and hearing stuff you don't like to hear, it's very good in that objective standpoint to grow and learn by listening in close enough to hear somebody else's perspective. And you get that every day here on 570. You have Dan Rivers that does that. I mean, Mangino was, a great guy, great to listen to. Morris Ray, he was another one of my favorite. None of these people were of the same stripes. I loved all of them because they brought a perspective and they were really not afraid to share with how they feel. And I think a lot of us need to get used to hearing things that that make us feel a little, angry inside and be okay with that. Because I think that road to tyranny is when we start to try to change other people. We disagree with something and we want to change the opinion of another person rather than just let them be and let them feel how they are. Because I'm not the arbiter of who's right and wrong. I'm just an opinion haver just like anybody else. But I don't want to limit your choices or your opinions because I don't agree with them. And that's why I started saying earlier, the cancel culture where we're injuring people for the sake of doing because we disagree with them, right? Personal expression, here's the difference. And this is a weird division. So I spend money with people who I believe in, right? And I don't spend money with people who I don't agree with. So as a personal choice, I do not outsource my disagreement to anybody else. I don't need you to not shop with someone or not do something. Just you joining my side and agreeing with me means that you would then be punishing someone, but you're adopting my reasons why you punish them. We'll see like what happened with Bud Light and what happens with Disney and any other corporate entity or individual that gets gang tackled by a bunch of people, you're targeted, right? And so I like to do all of my stuff in my own little sphere of influence. I like to choose on my own. I like to have my opinion on my own. And I love that all of you have shared your opinion with me over the last 2 days. And I value you a lot. Even if I disagree with you, I really do value you bringing perspective to me, and I can either, accept it or reject it. But anyway, I appreciate all of you and thank you. 330-729-9977. Let's go to Jim next. Jim, you're on the Dan Rivers Show. How can I help you?
How did they let you on the show?
I don't know.
How did Dan Rivers and Ron Verb even let you on the show?
I snuck my way in.
Into anything political. I don't want to do any of that. All I can say is critical thinking is lacking in both of their programs, or they are just doing it for the profit of the company. I don't go along with probably 99% of what they say. And I'm not going to go along with 100% of what you say. But at least there is some dialogue. There is another way of thinking that is out there, and the people are thirsting for this. They want this. So I hope you come back.
All right. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And if that's the one thing anybody took out of this show, you have made my freaking day. And again, those two that you named, both Ron Verb and Dan Rivers, I have ultimate respect for, because here's the thing. They put a show together that makes you want to listen. They organize and orient the show to be a very popular place that, agree or disagree, you come to the table and you listen, and I have a lot of respect for that. But I do agree that every once in a while, change those gears up. Give us a new, a little vein to follow that's a little bit different than all the rest. So thank you for that. And real quick, let's go to Jake. Jake, you're on the Dan Rivers Show. How can I help you?
Yeah, tell me how I can have middle ground with people who, you talked about the human trafficking, and take it all the way down to the people that don't believe in the science and think that a male can become a female or vice versa, that males can say they're a female and go ahead and dominate in sports. Doctors, the AMA can be okay with mutilating children, whether it's chemically or doing surgery. But how can I have a middle ground with those people?
All right, Jake. And I don't necessarily think that you need to come closer to them. I think we just have to respect that other people are going to have different perspectives on it and allow them, as wrong as they want to be or as right as they want to be, to have their space. And you counter argument by bringing out the way that you feel right up against it and be just as vocal as they are. So thank you, Jake. Appreciate it. We'll take a break. We'll come back. Denny's up on the line next. This is the Dan Rivers Show on 570 WKBN.
Hello again, everyone. Big Dan Wilson here from the studios of In Ohio Country today. And this is your Midday Ag Report, brought to you by Farmers Alliance, your area Bex dealer and your home for quality ag supply services. Check them out on the web at myfarmersalliance.com. The Ohio crop update for the week ending October 22nd from the USDA NASS office shows that 90% of the corn was mature and only 20% was harvested. The moisture content of corn grain at harvest was 24%. Corn for silage was 97%, 64% of the soybeans were harvested. The moisture content of soybeans at harvest was 14%. Corn condition was 94% good to excellent. Third cuttings of other dry hay was 93% complete. Fourth cuttings of alfalfa hay was 95% complete. And winter wheat was 73% planted and 34% emerged. Let's take a look at the markets. Brought to you by Apple Farm Service, your family-owned dealership since 1956, with over 100 brands of equipment and over 500,000 parts in stock. Visit them at applefarmservice.com. Corn for December now at $4.86. Soybeans for January at $13.07, and wheat for December at $5.78. From the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, live cattle for December at $180.10, feeder cattle for November at $237.97, and lean hogs for December at $66.92. This has been your In Ohio Country Today Ag Report, brought to you by our friends at Farmers Alliance and Apple Farm Service. I'm Big Dan Wilson. Make it a great day today and continue to have a safe harvest. And here's seeing you somewhere out there in Ohio Country.
Hi, I'm Henry Winkler. My eyes are very important to me. My eyes connect me with things I love. I loved my late father-in-law dearly. He always lit up a room, but his vision dimmed with age. He had age-related macular degeneration, or AMD. And since partnering with Apellis, I've learned there's an advanced form of the disease called geographic atrophy, or GA. His struggle with vision loss made me want to help others know about GA's warning signs. For some, straight lines seem wavy, like when looking at a door frame. For others, blurry or missing spots can make it hard to read or see loved ones' faces. Many have trouble seeing in low light, making driving at night difficult. GA gets worse over time and cannot be reversed. If you've been diagnosed with AMD and notice vision changes, don't wait. Talk to your eye doctor about GA today. Learn more at GAWon'tWait.com. That's GAWon'tWait.com.
iHeart Podcast Update. This week on your free iHeartRadio app, the Ben Ferguson Podcast. Ben Ferguson brings you the commentary on the news that the biased media will not cover. The Tudor Dixon Podcast. Talk to the biggest names in politics and conservative media, and most importantly, we'll get you the truth about the issues that affect you, your family, and our American way of life. The Truth with Lisa Booth. Cut through the noise and get straight to the heart of what actually matters with the political and legislative impact of the hottest issues. Hear these podcasts and more on your free iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts.
I got your Storm Team 27 forecast. We got a high of 72 degrees today, 70 tomorrow. No rain in the forecast, and it is 68 degrees here in good old Youngstown, Ohio. And we are back. This is the Dan Rivers Show. We got a couple more minutes of me, Joe Danyi, filling in for Dan. We started talking about the city of Youngstown. We talked very little about local politics and local going-ons. I didn't mention any of the deer calling over at Mill Creek Park, which that would have been an option had we gone in that direction. I'm going to stay away from it for now because whatever. But I did want to mention, and this is reminding me again, that we had a caller earlier in the program brought about that, recognizing that I'm a big advocate for the city. There's some things that go down on the downtown, and it never seems to take root. Something always blows it apart. And there have been a number of people that have stayed on it, where you have people like Phil Kidd and Derek McDowell who put a lot of energy into trying to get something going. And then, something always comes down. So it's always a parking issue or a construction issue or there's nothing to do issue or the hours are different issue. And all of these inconveniences that always are the reason why we don't support the downtown. And we have these urban areas that are super well developed. Boardman is an amazing place. Anything you can want and offer, easy to get in and out of. There's no downside that if you live in the Boardman area, you've got good access to everything that you would want to buy. But if you go downtown, like there are some things that are worth going down, big shows and performances. You can't do, a concert in Boardman. Well, it's not as big of a facility, and it's downtown. We have the Covelli Center, and we have the Dior. We have all of these great gems. So the way that I picture this is that the area takes a portion of our entertainment dollars and we spend it before those things are threatened. And so when we paint the picture of how to support people in our area, we say, okay, well, there's a couple of great restaurants that are downtown, right? And there's West 34th Street, you have the Bistro, you have V2, a ton of good restaurants that when I work downtown, so I get to hit these restaurants on a regular basis. It is really nice that once a month you go support one of those restaurateurs that are down there, because it's a hard haul right now. They are hurting. So if somebody says, hey, if I have some entertainment dollars and I can help rescue some of these restaurants and bars and entertainment venues, let's do that now before we're walking down there and saying, hey, why are all these shops closed up? Why don't we have activity that are downtown? Well, we can do something about it right now. We can rescue these people. So that's what I'm at. My ask for you is to take maybe once a month and make that downtown day. Figure out something where you can spend $50, $100, take your family down there, go see a show, do something where we're going to bring some of this urban traffic or these suburban traffic down into the downtown. They really, really need you guys. And that's what I'm going to advocate. And that's going to be, my ask for today. We're actually going to highlight some of the businesses that are in our area for Christmas. And so another advocacy is I would rather you spend local dollars before you do ahead of national dollars. A lot of you have been, spending money on Amazon because it's easy. You put your order in and it shows up at your door. My ask again is to inconvenience you a little bit by taking a segment of those gift dollars and figuring out a way to spend that on the local scene. So I'm going to dig through some of our vendors here in the Valley and see if we can't let some of that supportive dollars fall on them. I'm looking out for our brethren because those are our neighbors, those are our friends, and we want to make sure that prosperity is available to all of those people. You pick up that area by the actions of people who decide that they're going to make a concerted effort to help the people in our community, and that's what I'm asking you for today. So I appreciate all of you. Until next time, this has been a great show. Thanks, everybody. This is the Dan Rivers Show on 570. Have a great day.
Hi, I'm Henry Winkler. My eyes are very important to me. My eyes connect me with things I love. I loved my late father-in-law dearly. He always lit up a room, but his vision dimmed with age. He had